Chapter 1139. Of course, it was useless for Han Fei to speak passionately on his own. Han Fei knew that the people of the big clans probably wouldn't be subverted. However, he wasn't in a hurry. What he wanted to do today was to win the hearts of the people. With the 100,000 mountains as the background, he forced the human masters to make concessions. As long as he had the resources, he had plenty of ways to bewitch people. Not only that, from this incident, Han Fei seemed to see the future of the Thousand-Star City. Yes, it was the same. The big clans controlled the Thousand-Star City, and history was repeating itself. The interests of the big clans in the Thousand-Star City were chasing the immortal palace. If they wanted to become kings, they had to destroy a place like the 10,000 Demon Valley. A venerable said coldly, "So, you want to use our resources to do favors for the people of the world?" Han Fei immediately retorted, "What do you mean by your resources? If it weren't for the big clan's force, it would be hard to say whose resources it is. If you don't want to, that's fine. From today on, the big clans of U City shall not interfere with the choices of the humans of U City or plunder other people's resources. The Avenger will openly appear in the sea area outside U City and compete fairly with people of the same realm. If you accept this, you can pretend I didn't say anything about the other 2 points." Han Fei's words exuded strong confidence. This confidence shocked many people on the opposite side. Although Han Fei was a lunatic, Han Fei could really kill Zhou Zifu just now. What did this mean? This showed that Han Fei was really strong. Otherwise, even if he had a sea-quelling bizarre treasure, he wouldn't be able to kill an advanced explorer as an advanced law enforcer. After all, the strength of the two was not the same at all. They could imagine that the 2 conditions put forward by Han Fei were actually to buy time for the Avenger. If the powerhouses of the big families couldn't be moved, then the powerhouses below the primary explorer level of the big families wouldn't be able to rise again. They would definitely be blocked. Even if a large number of junior explorers were sent to besiege them, the Avengers' fleet was extraordinary. Besides, once that happened, there would definitely be many people in U City who supported the Avenger. Even now, there were still many independent cultivators in U City, and they had been dissatisfied with the big clans for a long time. Therefore, Han Fei's request was actually to drive the big clans to the opposite side of human beings. Seeing that many people were silent, Han Fei smiled and said, "What? You don't dare. In a situation where there are no experts to rule, you aristocratic families don't even have the courage to fight head-on?" A supreme expert said, "Do you have any other conditions?" Hearing this, Han Fei immediately laughed. "Yes. However, there's another way that won't cause you aristocratic families to suffer any losses." The tiger muttered, "You really have a lot of ideas." Han Fei replied, "I learned it from you, Master Hu." Then, regardless of whether the tiger was gloating or not, Han Fei said directly, "There's another option. You can evacuate City of Yu with all your resources and find another place. City of Yu will belong to me. I don't care where you go. In the future, we'll fight for the resources on the sea with our own abilities. If there's anything wrong with your clan, we won't rest until one of us dies." Han Fei was resolute. No matter which option he chose, he was determined to win the hearts of the people of U City. These aristocratic families had no choice but to give, even if they did not want to. Otherwise, they wouldn't rest until one of them died. Shiman Tian said, "If we don't choose, do you really want to start a war?" Han Fei pointed at Shiman Wuqing and the others and looked at the Tiger King. "Master Hu, beat them up." Roar. Bam, bam, bam. Wait. Stop. Rumble. The tiger didn't care about those humans. For now, Han Fei was more like a person from the 100,000 mountains. Although he was a human, his style was too similar to that of the 100,000 mountains. If you don't like them, kill them. That was the truth. Almost in an instant, there were only 6 captive explorers left. 5 people were directly blown up. They had really fallen, and there was not a single bit of exaggeration. Shiman Tian shouted, "Wang Han." Han Fei said, "Seniors, please wait." Stopping in front of all the beasts, Han Fei tilted his head and looked at Shimen Tian and the others. "There are only 3 choices. Either you give me half of the resources, and I get the city lord. Or you compete fairly, and the big clans hide and don't plunder the humans of city of you. Or you leave with all the resources, and I get the city of you. I give you the choice. How you choose is up to you. If you don't choose, I will fight. At worst, I will overthrow your big clans and start all over again. Either way, I will die. I bet in the next 500 years. Seeing the group of human overlords trembling with anger, Han Fei said leisurely, "If I were you, I might choose the second option. You don't have to give me resources, and you don't have to leave city of you. You can go to the sea. How great is that?" However, the 3 human venerables looked cold and thought, Wang Han is really ambitious. However, the 3 human martial sovereigns wore cold expressions as they thought to themselves, Wang Han is indeed a wolf with wild ambitions. However, the 3 human venerables looked cold and thought, Wang Han is really ambitious. But the second option is that once the big clans hide, the control of city of you will be taken away and their freedom will be restricted. However, the second condition was that once the great clans retreated, the control of the city of you would be taken away and their freedom would be restricted as well. If this goes on, the big clans will only exist in name. In the long run, the big clans will only exist in name. As for the war, to be honest, if it was just a beast king, they actually had a way to deal with it. The big clans had a deep foundation and many means. However, there was an even more terrifying existence in the 100,000 mountains. It was the divine sun. That rarely appeared but extremely powerful existence could be said to be the strongest person under the king level. Given that the human venerable ones were injured, being able to stop a beast king was already the best they could do. If the divine sun really attacked, they wouldn't be able to stop him. A venerable said, "We need to discuss for a moment." They had no choice but to discuss this matter. Han Fei was too violent and would kill an explorer at the slightest disagreement. There were 12 captives just now, but in the blink of an eye, only 6 were left, just because 2 of them said they couldn't accept it. If they tentatively said that they couldn't accept it, the remaining few would probably die in the next moment. Of course, they could also agree first and then regret it later. However, did Han Fei dare to kill them? Just as this thought flashed through their minds, Han Fei tilted his head and looked at the Beast King. "Master, if I die one day, it must be a scheme of the big clans. At that time, please avenge me, Master." The Beast King's eyes flickered slightly. "Okay. I know you are my disciple. You have been wandering in the outer sea for many years and never died. If I perish in human territory, this king will kill them one by one." Han Fei chuckled. "Thank you very much, Master." Hearing this, all the human powerhouses felt as if thousands of fish were galloping in their hearts. Fuck, you still want to blame it on us if you die. However, they also knew that now that the relationship between them had become so stiff, if he didn't blame it on them, where else could he blame it? But Han Fei thought differently. In fact, he didn't have 500 years at all. He had to find a way back. No matter what, this was the age of doom, not his world. So, he could do whatever he wanted. Besides, Han Fei also knew the situation in the future, so he didn't panic at all. Although Han Fei didn't know how Shimen Linglan would survive these years, it should be very difficult. After all, he would be enemies with these big clans. But in any case, Shimen Linglan would be very strong in the future. She would rule the city of justice alone and be loved by the whole city. This was clear. The Thousand Star City and the Scattered Stars Island still needed him, and he had to rush back for the Battle of the Scattered Stars Island in 7 years. God knew how long he had been in the River of Time. How about the Thug Academy today? How about the Scattered Stars Island? Han Fei didn't know anything. This was what Han Fei was most worried about. However, so many years had passed in the river of time, and Han Fei didn't care about the next few years. At least, he had to find a way to settle a new situation. Only in this way could he find a way to leave with peace of mind. That was all Han Fei could do for them. In the future, Han Fei didn't know how to take the road of the City of Justice. He only knew one result. He still couldn't infer the development of the City of Justice in the past countless years based on this result. In the void, there was a buzzing vibration. After a long time, a venerable said, "Okay. Now the human race is weak, and the 100,000 mountains are indeed stronger. Let's see what will happen after you take over the City of Justice. Let's choose the third one. The big clans will retreat from Yu City, but the 3,000 salt marsh in the north will belong to us. In the future, the resources in the sea will depend on our own means." Han Fei tilted his head and looked at Shiman Linglan. "Where is the 3,000 salt marsh?" Shiman Linglan gulped. She couldn't believe that it was done just like that. She thought it would be a fierce battle. Hearing Han Fei's question, she quickly said, "It's a large grassland salt lake on the north coast. However, it's barren. It's about 20,000 kilometers away from Yu City." Hearing that, Han Fei grinned. "Okay. That's it. The big clans of Yu City will move out of Yu City in 3 days. My Avenger will take over Yu City in 3 days." As soon as he said this, there was a gasp behind Han Fei. Jia Wuxing and the others couldn't believe it. Damn it, it's done. It seemed that they couldn't take revenge for some people for the time being. However, there was nothing they could do about it. What they were facing now was the entire big clan of Yu City. They had never dared to think that they could force the other party to this extent. As for Tiger and the others, they were not interested in humans' tricks. They felt that it was like fighting for their own territory. If they lost, they would have to change their territory, right? It was a matter of course. Han Fei had a rough idea what these people were planning. They would retreat temporarily, recover from their injuries, and cultivate strong masters. The big clans had a long history. If they could hold back for a while, they might be able to take back Yu City in the future. This was why they would rather move away than hand over the resources. After all, these resources had been accumulated over a long period of time. They would rather give up hundreds of millions of people than give up the precious resources they had accumulated. In fact, they didn't understand the principle of man can conquer nature. In the past, the people of Yu City were at the bottom of society. They were the ones who were exploited. If these people became masters, would they still want to go back to the past? Since they didn't want to go back, they would suppress them by force. This was Han Fei's real plan. After all, Han Fei knew that people's hearts were everything. At this moment, Han Fei didn't panic at all. How could I let you succeed? Then I lose. This is just the first confrontation. In the next confrontation, if I don't squeeze you dry, I will write my name backwards. Shiman Wutian said with a straight face, "Now, can you let them go?" "Let them go?" Han Fei sneered. "What does this have to do with letting them go? I caught them with my own ability. How can I let them go just like that?" Han Fei didn't have the habit of letting people go at all. How could he let them go so easily? Then why did he rob them before? The Beast King couldn't help scratching his butt, thinking, what else does this kid want to do? He has already won a great victory this time. Does he still want to kill them in this situation? A venerable said coldly, "Wang Han, what else do you want?" Han Fei grinned. "What else do I want? These people have been chasing my Avenger for a long time. My Avenger was destroyed. This is my 18 years of hard work. How can I let it go? You owe me 10 big ships and haven't paid them back yet. How can I let them go?" Shiman Wuching snorted coldly. "The big ships will be delivered to you in a few days." Han Fei continued, "The crew of my Avenger were all persecuted by the big clans. Now that the negotiation has been completed, they can't take revenge anymore. 10 big ships are not enough. You have to pay more. Jia Wuxing and the others thought, actually, we are already very satisfied. We can't fight with the big clans because of us. What if they fight with each other again? However, Shimin Linglan was a little surprised. She felt that Han Fei's previous words were all empty words. In the end, the words, "You have to pay more," were true. A venerable said, "Wang Han, what do you mean? Yu City is already yours. Don't you think it's enough?" Han Fei quickly waved his hand. "Stop. They are two different things and can't be confused. These people's hands are stained with blood. If I don't make you bleed, you will never know what pain is. If you want people, you can give me money. How much money does it cost to train an explorer? I only want the ones I can see. These people are all advanced explorers at the very least. On average, each of them is worth 1,000,000 caddies of spiritual spring, 1,000,000 caddies of spirit awakening fluid, 10 heaven-level combat skills, 1,000 ultra-quality spiritual weapons, 1 low-quality divine weapon. 1 ultra-quality divine weapon, 10,000 energy fruits and spiritual weapon fruits each." Seeing Han Fei counting with his fingers as if he were counting his family treasures, Tiger next to him almost couldn't bear it anymore and couldn't help but bare his teeth. Tiger thought to himself, what if someone dares to ask me for things like this? I'll definitely slap him to death. Behind him, Jia Wuxing and the others swallowed crazily. The awakened General Han seems to be a bit ruthless. This thing seemed to be much, much richer than robbing a big ship. Shimin Linglan felt that her head was about to explode. Where is the domineering idiot just now? At this moment, the style seems to be a bit wrong. Enough! Someone shouted, "Wang Han, are you robbing us?" Han Fei raised his head in a daze. Huh? Do you think an advanced explorer is not worth this? Or do you think a peak-level explorer is not worth this? You have to know that these people hate me. How much will my conscience hurt if I let them go? You don't even want to give me more money, and you want to take them away. What? Do you think I'm joking? As he spoke, Han Fei raised Snowmorn and was about to cut them. Wait a minute. Don't move. What's the hurry? Han Fei stopped and looked at them expressionlessly, pointing his sword at Zhao Pai who was closest to him. What do you say? Are you going to give me the money or not? Zhao Pai was sweating hard. He had already sent a voice transmission to his family, "Son of a bitch, this guy really dared to attack us." Just now, Zhou Zifu, his neighbor, was killed because he was questioned by Han Fei. Is there anything this guy can't do? Some venerables were so angry that their lips were trembling, but someone held back his anger. Okay, you can have these resources. But Wang Han, I don't have any more. Han Fei smiled casually. That's right. I don't have anything else to ask for. But... For a moment, everybody looked at Han Fei. You have a, but? Enlightened, Han Fei looked at Shimin Tian. But the Shimin family's resources will be counted separately. Shimin Tian frowned. What do you mean? Han Fei's eyes were cold. Shimin Linglan is the captain of the Avenger. The Shimin family is my sworn enemy. I can let go of other families, but I can't let go of Shimin Wuqing. Shimin Wuqing had almost been stomped to death, and his eyes were bulging. Fearing that Han Fei would really kill him, he roared, Wang Han, are you forcing me to fight? Han Fei chuckled. Shut up. It's not up to you to decide whether or not to fight. You're the only exception. Why would I force you to fight? Shimin Linglan pulled Han Fei's waist. Idiot, actually, Han Fei glanced at Shimin Linglan. Listen to me. Then, Han Fei looked at Shimin Tian. This is a sworn enemy. You have to give me more money. Everyone. Shimin Linglan. The Beast King, but Han Fei said calmly, twice. Han Fei looked straight at Shimin Tian, not avoiding his gaze. After all, he was a venerable. To prevent this guy from doing anything out of line, he had to give him twice the amount. As for the future, let's talk about it later. Shimin Tian's eyes flickered, and in the end, he gritted his teeth and said, okay, no more. Han Fei was speechless. Shimin Tian agreed so readily. It seemed that he had said too little just now. If he had known, he would have asked for more. However, forget it. There was still a long way to go. Han Fei didn't panic at all. He had to get the real benefits first. Han Fei said lightly, you can go back now. Give me the money and I'll give you the goods. Shimin Wuqing and the others didn't feel good. Are we going to become goods? A venerable said, Wang Han, do you still doubt the credibility of a venerable? Han Fei curled his lips. Your big family has never been credible. I won't let you go without seeing the money and the ship. Humph. The venerable flew away, not wanting to say another word to Han Fei. Soon after, these people left quickly with a swish swish swish. It seemed that they didn't want to stay in this damn place at all. Or rather, they didn't want to see Han Fei's face for one more second. When all the strong masters on the human side left, the tiger slapped Han Fei, causing him to stagger. Boy, you're really something. How did you manage to snatch it? The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Master Tiger, my bones are scattered. Before Han Fei could greet the others, the Beast King growled, Disciple, come with me. As the Beast King waved his hand, Han Fei appeared on the surface of the sea, far away from the Avenger. Han Fei scratched his head. Master. The Beast King looked at Han Fei. Tell me, what do you remember? Do you remember that thing? Han Fei's face became slightly serious. I don't remember. Or rather, it was not that I didn't think about it, it seemed to be on the tip of my tongue. But I can't say it. It seems that there are rules restricting me from saying it. Han Fei had expected this. There should be something wrong with him crossing the river of time this time. Although he could recall things that happened a long time ago, he couldn't remember the key things, such as the floating stone, his understanding of the divine palace, the soul sea, and the final situation of the various races. The Beast King frowned. Sure enough, this is the reason. You are not a person of this life. Although you crossed the river of time through a strange method, you can't change the situation of this life. You can only push the boat with the current. Han Fei wondered, what's the reason? I'm already here. The Beast King shook his head. You don't understand. Even if you are a king, even if you really have a way to cross the river of time, you can't even speak or interfere with the changes of time. That is the suppression of the supreme way of heaven. Since you can appear here and can fight and talk, it can only be said that there is something wrong with the river of time. In a sense, it lacks the influence of the supreme way. Han Fei frowned, feeling that he knew something. However, he couldn't remember much in this regard. As far as his current memory was concerned, he had already remembered all his normal memories. What he couldn't remember were those things that involved secrets. It seemed that it was indeed as the Beast King said. The Beast King looked at Han Fei. Do you remember anything about the beasts in your memory? Han Fei thought for a moment. In the places where I normally live, I have never seen the beasts. However, I once met a lot of beasts, demonic plant clan, and sky clan in a secret realm, a place that belonged to the ancient battlefield. The Beast King narrowed his eyes keenly. No war giants? Han Fei shook his head slightly. No. Maybe I haven't been to many places. I need to become stronger. The Beast King hummed slightly. The beasts could only appear in some secret realms. This showed that the final result was not good. However, since there were still beasts, it meant that they hadn't been wiped out yet. The Beast King asked, do you remember the answer you came back to find? Han Fei nodded. Yes, but there are some things I don't understand. Master, you said that an oracle made the Sea Clan and the other races fight for tens of thousands of years? The Beast King roared, you don't understand. Who doesn't want to rule the other races and master the Great Way? That's all we know. As for what the oracle was like, what did it say specifically? Are there any secrets behind it? It's not something that we can know. By the way, do you have a path to becoming a king? Could he become a king? The Beast King and the others couldn't see these things clearly. They said that he had the potential to become a king, but it was just a matter of posture. As for whether he could really become a king or not, they didn't know and couldn't see it. Han Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Master, what do you want me to say? I don't know the path yet, but many people say that I may become a king. I think so too. Han Fei was not narcissistic. The source of his confidence was not old Han, nor was it the mother of the master of the immortal palace, but the demon purification pot. Of course, he also knew that the problem he was facing was also very big. Here, he could use the 100,000 mountains to suppress the big clans. However, once he returned to the 1,000-star city, he really had to do it himself. The Beast King nodded. By the way, you need to be careful on your path to invincibility. This road is full of thorns and bumps, and those who don't have great luck can't bear it. As far as I know, no one who embarks on the road to invincibility has a good ending. Huh? Han Fei didn't know what to say. What do you mean? It's said that the road to invincibility is not easy, but I've already walked on it. The Beast King comforted him. However, not necessarily. After all, I've seen very few invincibility roads. Maybe some people have succeeded. You can even cross the river of time, which shows that you have great luck. Han Fei smiled bitterly. Is this comfort? The third chapter. In 2 days, the story here will be over. The story should be told bit by bit and logically, not just randomly written. Besides, some people are calling for more time. Doesn't his conscience hurt? Since I've written this plot, let me finish it. It's almost time. There's basically nothing to do in this secret realm. Tomorrow, I'll continue the 2-in-1. End of this chapter. Chapter 1140. In fact, Han Fei didn't have much to say. For the 100,000 mountains and human beings, what they needed was time, strong masters, and a way to resist the Sea Clan. There were too many Sea Clan creatures and resources, so the speed of the birth of strong masters was obviously faster than that of human beings. In the Battle of Venerables, a large number of Venerables of the Sea Clan died. However, this could only bring about 500 years of peace. If there was a next time, it would be a greater challenge. When Han Fei returned to the Avenger, he found that the masters of the 4 clans had left, leaving only Shimen Linglan sitting on the top of the ship with her chin in her hands. The others were talking about what had happened just now in an exaggerated way. That scene almost scared them to the point of peeing their pants. At this moment, these people were expressing their surging emotions. Someone said, "Motherfucker, I never dreamed that I would one day be able to take over you city." Someone was still confused. Did we win just like that? Jia Wuxing's head was buzzing. The big clans surrendered. Did they just surrender? No, am I hallucinating? I have to take a nap. Yes, take a nap. Han Fei appeared with a swoosh and grabbed Jia Wuxing. What are you sleeping for? Get ready to accept the spoils of war. Seeing Han Fei come back, everyone froze and looked at him in a daze. However, Han Fei was looking at Shimen Linglan. He stepped on the ground lightly and sat next to Shimen Linglan. They were still looking up. As a girl, Yu immediately said, "Stop looking. Go to that big ship." Yu said, "General Han and the captain must have a lot to say." Oh. Yes, go to the big ship and pack up." After everyone left, Han Fei thought for a long time but didn't know what to say. What should I say? Say that my name is Han Fei and I come from the other side of the river of time. Helplessly, looking at the noisy Jia Wuxing and the others, Han Fei muttered, "A bunch of idiots." Shimen Linglan tilted her head and looked at him, thinking, "You've been an idiot for almost 30 years. How dare you criticize others now?" Shimen Linglan took a breath, straightened her body, and faced Han Fei. So, are you still Wang Han? Han Fei nodded. Yes. Han Fei could clearly feel that Shiman Linglan's tense body had relaxed. The latter heaved a sigh of relief and said, "Do you remember what happened in the past?" Han Fei nodded slightly. "I do." Shiman Linglan blushed. Han Fei looked at her strangely and thought, "Why are you blushing?" "At that time, I was a pure fool." Shiman Linglan's eyelashes were trembling. Then what is in your memory? Who was Xia Shaochan? You shout the most. Where was Tang Gu? Zhang Xuanyu, Luo Xiaobai, Lu Renquang, Old Han, Old Jiang. Han Fei was stunned. Is this what you want to know most? Han Fei played dumb. What? Who? Shiman Linglan looked at Han Fei leisurely and thought to herself, keep pretending. Han Fei changed the topic. Let me tell you, we have a greater goal now, which is to completely crush the big clans. Otherwise, they will definitely make a comeback. Shiman Linglan was stunned for a moment. Aren't they gone now? Han Fei sneered. That's just a temporary stalling tactic. The Venerable is injured, and we are stronger now. So, they are just making concessions for the time being. When dealing with the enemy, we have to torture them until they can't make a comeback anymore. I have thought of a few plans. Let me tell you. Shiman Linglan listened to Han Fei and was silent for a long time. Suddenly, she said, I still think it's better when you are a fool. Han Fei, 3 days later. The city of Yu was in an uproar. Every day, countless people wandered inside and outside Yu City. One after another, many big clans moved away. No one knew why. Some people even took away their houses and land. Everyone was dumbfounded. They didn't know what was going on at all. Someone said, are these big clans crazy? Is the Sea clan attacking again? They are unstoppable this time. Are they going to run? Someone wondered, the point is, where can they go? If the lips are gone, the teeth will be cold. Do they want to cross the sea and run to Blackstone City? Someone sneered. Blackstone City. Yu City was attacked. How can Blackstone City be fine? They must have been beaten too. Someone was puzzled. Wait. Didn't the big clans go to destroy the Avenger a few days ago? Could it be that they were chased away by the Vengeance? Someone rolled his eyes. How is that possible? No matter how strong the Avenger is, it is just a ship. Unless there is a king on it, how can so many big clans move away from Yu City? Besides, if there is a king, how can those big clans run away? Suddenly, someone ran in from outside the city, shouting as he ran, they're here, they're here. Someone cursed, are you crazy? Who is coming? Son of a bitch, the Sea clan is coming. Before they panicked, that person roared, the Avenger is coming, the Avenger is coming. What? Who is coming? The Avenger. Hiss. Son of a bitch, the big clans are gone, and the Avenger is coming. Someone heard the news in shock. Yu City is going to change. On the sea, a black ship thousands of meters long was breaking through the waves. This ship had a strange shape. The black sails were inlaid with gold and were full of arrays. The stern was in the shape of an octopus, and the octopus claws were clasped on the hull. The bow of the ship was like a vertical steel knife, and the lower part of the blade was a shark with its mouth wide open, which was domineering and arrogant. When he modified this ship, Han Fei knew why the Avenger was like this. These 3 ships were modified according to the remains of the venerables they picked up in the sea over the years. As for black, wasn't that the usual color of pirates? Because of the requirements of arrays, Han Fei wanted to make this ship a unique Avenger. Therefore, he didn't use the pirate map. However, at the top of the mast, he put a pirate flag. Therefore, when he was on the Avenger, he didn't see the pirate flag. It must have been taken down. Otherwise, when he saw the pirate flag, he would have doubted his life. At this moment, Han Fei was modifying the arrays. He was afraid of Shimen Linglan. Recently, Shimen Linglan made a fuss about giving birth to a child. Are you kidding me? I'm going to give birth to a child now. My child is already cold, and I'm still in the future. It doesn't make sense. Besides, Han Fei suspected that this was almost impossible. How could the Great Tao ignore it? Because he was not a person of this time, and he would die eventually, so it was impossible for him to give birth to a child. What if he gave birth to an ancestor? He was thinking, if this is a reincarnation, I shouldn't have woken up in advance. In other words, waking up in advance actually meant that he was gradually getting out of this time. Han Fei knew that his memory was still a little weak. What if these memories were restored? Based on the current situation, the injury to his divine soul had basically recovered. If he fully recovered, would he remember those things that he shouldn't remember? The Beast King said it was the influence of the Great Tao. Then, once he was fully awake, what would the Great Tao do? Therefore, at this moment, Han Fei didn't devote his energy to love. He had to rebuild the Avenger as soon as possible. Seeing that they were about to reach Yu City, Shimen Linglan shouted, "Idiot, it's time to eat." Han Fei's body shivered. "Oh, my, it's almost ready. You guys eat first." With a flash, Shimen Linglan appeared next to Han Fei and waited patiently. Han Fei immediately shrugged. "Let's eat." Shimen Linglan sneered. "When you were an idiot, you were much more arrogant than you are now. You're a man, and you're so shy when eating." Han Fei immediately said angrily, "I'm just concentrating on my work and planning for the next 10,000 years. Shimen Linglan snorted. "We're about to reach Yu City. What are you going to do after taking over Yu City?" Han Fei smiled slightly. "People need freedom, but we can't tell them directly. We have to stand on the side of justice and tell them that they are the masters of this city, the future of mankind, and freedom. Since they are the masters, they won't allow their home to be destroyed, even if the big clans make a comeback in the future. However, they have the habit of freedom in their bones. Even if they are suppressed for a while, they will always want to resist. This is the will of the people." Shimen Linglan tilted her head and looked at Han Fei. "I always feel that there are countless things hidden in your head." Han Fei chuckled. "I've basically told you all the things in my head. In the future, my mission is to build a fleet of Avenger, the kind that can dominate the sea." Shimen Linglan was surprised. "You're not going to do anything even if you take over Yu City?" Han Fei grinned. "Managing people is not something that one person can do alone." "Wait. You'll know when we reach Yu City." Shimen Linglan scoffed. "Ever since you became not an idiot, I feel that you are full of evil thoughts." Han Fei, there were many ports in Yu City. Among them, there were 8 of the largest ports, and the rest were no less than 100 large and small ports. Otherwise, there would be no place for so many big ships. Of course, there were also many small cities and towns around Yu City. The entire Lin Hai city covered an area of more than 8,000 square kilometers. Together with the countless villages and towns nearby, it was extremely vast. The place where the Avenger appeared was more than 500 kilometers away from the port of Yu City, which was a place that ships had to pass. However, because there were very few big ships going out these days, there were many small and medium-sized ships going out. As a matter of fact, when the countless small and medium-sized ships saw that the vengeance was coming, they all turned around and went back to where they were. Even if there were some who were brave, the rumors from a few days ago were, after all, just rumors. People had no confidence in their hearts. After all, the Avenger gave them the feeling that it was extremely powerful. The aristocratic families had already started to flee, and then the vengeance had appeared. This was a clue. Therefore, many small ships stopped 100 kilometers away from the Avenger, wanting to see what the Avenger was going to do. These people were looking forward to it, but also worried. They were looking forward to whether the Avenger would give them freedom, as the rumors said. Sharing the resources of the sea. They were worried that the Avenger would do the same thing as the big families. After all, countless people were used to this kind of environment. In fact, the big families thought so too. They didn't expect that Han Fei would bring freedom to Yu City at all. They thought that Han Fei just wanted to dominate the city. Therefore, they naturally felt that they had a chance to make a comeback. On a certain boat, several middle-aged men were whispering. Someone said, "Do you think they are really here to help us? However, the big families don't seem to bully us too much except collecting some resource taxes from us, do they?" Someone sneered. "You little fish head, don't bully us. Don't you know how weak we are? Do you think we can get good things with our strength? Look at those hidden fishers and law enforcers. As soon as they get good things, they go to the big families to exchange for them. Do you know how many people have been exploited on that floor?" Someone said, "Yes, you are a fish head. They are everywhere in the relatively safe and resource-rich areas near the sea. These days, they haven't gone to sea. Do you see how many people have gone to grab resources?" Just as they were whispering to each other, a voice echoed through the air, "Everyone, from today onwards, I, the Vengeance, will take over Yu City. We come from darkness, but we will bring light. If you don't mind, please inform your relatives and friends in the major villages. At this time tomorrow, the Avenger will land in Yu City and announce the liberation of Yu City. From today on, Yu City will be open to everyone. Anyone can enter Yu City, and no one is allowed to stop them." Hum. Hum. At that moment, everyone within 1,000 miles was shocked to the extreme. What? Yu City is going to be liberated? Liberate what? The Avenger is going to land in Yu City? Someone exclaimed, "Oh my god, the Avenger said that everyone in Yu City can become a free person. Is it fucking true?" Someone clutched his head and paced back and forth. The Avenger won. Yes, they must have won in the Storm Strait. Oh my god, there must be a venerable on the Avenger. Someone shouted, "Brothers, don't just stand there. Let's go back and spread the news to the major villages and towns." While steering the boat, someone said, "Will the Avenger really help us?" Someone shouted, "What do you mean help us? They've already helped us. Didn't you see that the big families have moved away?" On this side, people were scrambling to leave. On the Avenger, Han Fei was eating hot pot. After all, he had looted countless good things, so it shouldn't be a problem for him to make some spiritual fruits and make hot pot. At this moment, 4 big pots were placed on the boat, and a group of people were eating around the hot pot. Someone said, "General Han, are we going to take over Yu City? We don't have enough manpower." Someone kicked him. "What do you know? We've already taken over Yu City. We can have as many people as we want." Slurp. Someone sucked a mouthful of fish meat and said in a low voice, "How? General Han must have an idea." "Don't worry about it." Jia Wuxing patted the man's head. "You talk too much." Turning his head, Jia Wuxing chuckled. "General Han, what should we do with such a big city?" Han Fei sneered. "Eat your hot pot. You won't understand even if I tell you. Anyway, I won't let you do it." Jia Wuxing smiled awkwardly. "I just want to share the burden with you and the captain." Shiman Linglan echoed, "I don't understand either. Managing a city is something we've never done before." Munch. Han Fei stuffed fish meat into his mouth, thinking, how can I manage a city? When a person stands at a certain height, he will find a way even if he has no other choice. As long as the principle is the same, it's fine. Han Fei suddenly felt that he seemed to have a headache. It was a very slight, dull pain. This was definitely not a good sign. As a cultivator, how could he have a headache? Shiman Linglan looked at Han Fei. "What are you thinking about?" Han Fei shook his head and continued to stuff fish into his mouth. "Nothing. I'm just thinking about the follow-up arrangements of Yu City." Shiman Linglan nodded. "I trust you." Han Fei smiled bitterly in his heart. I don't even trust myself. You didn't manage it, but I did. The reason why I asked the big families for help was that I had to get it. If I don't come, how can you be the city lord? The next day, all the major ports of U City were full of people. They had begun to believe it. Because all the houses of the big families in the city were empty and their shops were closed. Of course, there must be a lot of people from the big families in the crowd. However, these people were just here to inquire about the situation in U City. They couldn't make a big fuss. Under everyone's expectant gaze, in the morning mist, the shadow of a big ship slowly emerged. Then, a dozen big black ships followed the Avenger and slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Han Fei stood proudly at the bow of the ship and said in a booming voice, "Fellow human beings, gather in the city." Huh. They're here. The hope of U City is here. Welcome, Avenger. I've been waiting here last night. Let's go to the city. Let's go together. Seeing countless people marching to the city gate, Han Fei couldn't help but shout, "From today on, flying in U City is free. Anyone can fly in the sky, as long as you don't destroy the city." Huh. All hail the Avenger. Swish. 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 Figures flew in the sky one after another. Although these people didn't have wings, hidden fissures could stay in the air for a short time, so it was not a big deal. Those who couldn't fly, Han Fei saw many hanging fissures climbing the city wall. Some manipulators even set up spiritual plant ladders so that people could step over the city wall. After all, the gate here had been blocked. Han Fei glanced at Jia Wuxing and the others. "Leave the ship here. Let's go into the city." This was the first time Han Fei had entered U City. Even though he had been in this world for almost 40 years, he had always heard about U City. He estimated that it should be similar to the Thousand-Star City. Behind him, Jia Wuxing shouted, "Have you all tidied up your hair? Dress neatly. Don't embarrass General Han and the captain. As for your beard, you should trim it a little." Someone swallowed. "Old Jia, aren't you nervous?" "Damn, my heart is almost jumping out of my chest." Someone echoed, "I'm so nervous that my legs are shaking." The scale of this event was way too big. So many people are watching us. EU was also nervous, but she comforted the others. "Don't worry. Generally speaking, the strong are in the big clans. Although there are also strong ordinary people, they can only reach the realm of peak-level law enforcers at most. There are very few explorers. You are all very strong." Jia Wuxing also took a deep breath. Looking at Han Fei and Shiman Linglan who had already left in the air, he immediately encouraged them, "Let's go. Damn it, they're coming at us in the wind and waves. Now that we're back in the city, why should we be afraid of them?" In the sky, Shiman Linglan said via voice transmission, "Idiot, I'm also nervous." Han Fei said leisurely, "Don't panic. It's just a small matter." Han Fei said to Jia Wuxing and the others, "Just pretend that those people watching us are all fish heads. Yes, just pretend that they are all fish heads." Someone muttered, "How many fish heads are there?" Jia Wuxing slapped him. "You talk too much. Just pretend that you are looking at fish heads. Cut the crap." Han Fei and the others didn't walk fast in the air. When they walked above the city wall, many law enforcers and hidden fishers were waiting here, following Han Fei's footsteps. In the city, the crowd was crowded, and many people were looking at the sky. A child took an old man's hand and squeezed into the crowd. "Grandpa, is this U City? There are so many people." The old man sighed. "Alas. Yes, this is U City. There are so many people in the main city. Grandpa has never been here before. Let's take a good look this time." A girl pointed to the sky and said, "Dad, that woman is so magnificent." The old man was also fascinated. "Our daughter will be so magnificent in the future. Maybe she can fly in the sky and dive into the sea. She's omnipotent." Many people were amazed. Many of them came from the villages and towns. Such a scene was rarely seen in a million years. Wouldn't it be a loss if they didn't take a look? Different from those people who were watching the fun, Han Fei scanned more than 600 kilometers as soon as he entered the city, but he didn't find the sea god statue. It's not here. Why isn't it here? Han Fei immediately frowned. The city of justice he had seen had the sea god statue, but it wasn't here. Could it be that the immortal palace didn't appear at this time? No, it must have appeared not far after this timeline. Before the city of justice was destroyed, the immortal palace must have appeared. The corners of Han Fei's mouth curled up slightly. Since the sea god statue was not here, it was a good thing. This meant that in the future, Shimen Linglan was not the only one working hard. There were still many people working hard in places that no one knew about. As for why the city of justice was destroyed, there might be many reasons. Maybe my mother and the others are fighting somewhere. After all, the 36 immortal palaces were a huge territory that they had to conquer. They couldn't fall from the sky. Chapter 1141. In fact, Han Fei should have thought of this. If the city of justice was the last territory of human beings, then the thousand-star city would be useless. Humans had long been extinct. Calming himself down, Han Fei said to Shimen Linglan, "Let me tell you." Shimen Linglan nodded. "You do it." "I don't know how." Han Fei asked, "You've stayed in City of You. Where is the central area of this city?" Shimen Linglan thought for a moment. "The Star Towers, a few very tall towers. They are the places where the big families in City of You sell and exchange resources." Han Fei smiled. "Then let's go there." Han Fei's voice was loud. "My compatriots, we will wait for you in the Star Towers. Come on, let's go to the Star Towers. Hurry up and grab a spot. Bro, wait for me." A moment later, Han Fei and the others arrived at the Star Towers, which were already crowded. Someone occupied the best geographical position and said with a smile, "Those who go to the city are idiots. City of You has a large population. The Avenger has defeated the big families and taken over City of You. They must announce a series of big events. Is there a better place than the Star Towers?" When Han Fei saw the so-called Star Towers, he found that they were cylindrical, more than 300 meters high and more than 100 meters wide. There were 3 of them, standing in a triangle. "They're here. They're here." Someone was shouting. There were all kinds of shouts. Some were even shouting for the savior of the world. Han Fei said, "Linglan, old Jia, destroy these 3 towers for me." "Huh?" Jia Wuxing said in surprise, "Wait. General Han, didn't you just say not to destroy the buildings and facilities in the city?" Han Fei said, "Just destroy it. Don't talk so much nonsense." Han Fei shouted, "Everyone, leave the Star Towers and stay a kilometer away." When the crowd began to retreat, Han Fei shouted in a low voice, "Do it. Destroy them." Suddenly, under the gaze of countless people, Han Fei, Shimen Linglan, and a fierce man flew to the 3 Star Towers. Among them, Han Fei was the most aggressive. A large hammer immediately appeared in his hand, transforming into a shocking hammer shadow. Just like that, dang, 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 he struck it a few times in succession, and the Star Pagoda immediately collapsed, causing dust and smoke to fly everywhere. Shimen Linglan wielded her twin sabers and swiftly flew past the Star Tower. When he took a closer look, he saw that the entire building was covered in sword marks. Following that, pieces of the building fell to the ground. Jia Wuxing punched out to show the power of an explorer. Descending from the sky, he punched through the Star Pagoda. In the exclamations of countless people, Han Fei shouted, "Fellow human beings, don't panic. The Star Pagoda is a place where the aristocratic families can exchange for resources." Now that the Star Pagoda had been destroyed, it meant that the era of the aristocratic families had passed. A brand new era has arrived. All right. That's good. Someone raised his arms and shouted. His roar rumbled, and hundreds responded to his call. The sound waves rose and fell. To vent my hatred. I should have destroyed this place long ago. It's a pity that everything inside has been taken away. In any case, it's good that there aren't any great clans. Han Fei quickly landed. The law of gravity covered 100 meters and crushed it with great force. These were all ordinary buildings, not spiritual weapons. In an instant, the rubble was crushed to the ground by Han Fei. Then, Han Fei casually threw a big stick to the ground. With a thought from Han Fei, the rod rose quickly and didn't stop until it reached 100 meters high. It had become a giant pillar that reached the sky. Standing on the top of the giant pillar, Han Fei shouted in a low voice, "Don't panic. Let's wait for a moment until everyone arrives." Shiman Linglan said to him telepathically, "Should we wait? Those people's gazes are so hot." Han Fei replied calmly, "This is called creating a sense of expectation. It's a good time to gather people's hearts." Looking at the people who were whispering or talking telepathically, Han Fei smiled. There were really a lot of people. It was not an exaggeration to say that it was a sea of people. In any case, the surrounding buildings were all filled with people. There were also law enforcers flying in the sky, waiting quietly. Seeing these people, Han Fei couldn't help but sigh. If he became a king in the future, it would be quite cool to have so many people watching him. After about half an hour or so, those who were supposed to come had all arrived. Those who couldn't squeeze in could only listen from the periphery. However, after this speech, everyone in and out of Yu City would know the content. 2 sledgehammers appeared in Han Fei's hands and he hit them with a clang. Han Fei said, "Quiet." When the discussion gradually subsided, Han Fei put away the sledgehammers and pulled Shiman Linglan, who was a little nervous, to the side. Han Fei's voice resounded through the clear sky like thunder. "Everyone, I think you must have heard the rumors about the Avenger. Yes, we, like countless people, were forced to leave our homes by the big clans. We know the oppression of the big clans on human beings. They occupy resources and exploit people. Their crimes are too numerous to list. So, we came back, with dreams and hope, to take revenge on them. Luckily, we won. Good job. The Avenger is invincible." In the sky, the 3 venerables were livid. As soon as the big clans left, this bastard came to tarnish their reputation. Although he didn't have a good reputation, anyone would feel embarrassed when someone said it out loud like that. The Beast King was also here. How could he miss such a grand event? Han Fei hit the sledgehammers again and shouted, "The sea race has been plotting against the human race. How can we resist the foreign races when we are faced with internal and external troubles? The Avenger's action is in accordance with the will of the heavens. 18 years ago, the 100,000 Mountains, the human race and the venerables of Black Rock City joined hands to attack the sea race and won 500 years of chaos for us. In this chaotic world, there will be heroes. This is Shiman Linglan, the abandoned daughter of the Shiman family in Yu City. When she was young, her spiritual heritage was taken away. Unwilling to submit to fate, she went into the mountains to seek cultivation and fought in the sea for millions of miles. In this chaotic world, she has the ambition to save people from disaster with the heart of revenge. This time, I came back to liberate the entire Yu City. Everyone under the rule of Yu City can become a free citizen." Shiman Linglan, hero in the chaotic world, Shiman Linglan, okay, I swear to follow you until death. Han Fei didn't care what the people shouted. He was thinking about what to say next. Shiman Linglan was embarrassed and said to him telepathically, "Why did you drag me into this? What hero in the chaotic world? I don't have any ambition." Han Fei said, "Don't panic. Calm down first." Han Fei continued to shout, "Today, with the joint support of all the senior leaders of the Venerables, Shiman Linglan will be the city lord of Yu City. Shiman Linglan will be the mayor of Yu City. She will spread cultivation techniques and battle techniques, control the fishing grounds, help the villages and towns, help the citizens, lower taxes, punish looting. In short, she will wipe out all the injustice in the world. Someone's arms were raised high up in the air, and he roared madly. Countless people shouted at the same time, their voices like waves, "Support City Lord Shiman." Someone burst into tears. Dawn, it's really dawn. Behind Han Fei, Jia Wuxing and the others stood straight. I've become a senior leader of the Avenger. His face was full of glory. Han Fei smiled and knocked the sledgehammer again. He turned his head and glanced at Shiman Linglan, then handed over a jade slip. Read it. Shiman Linglan's head was buzzing. I've become the city lord for no reason. Aren't you the city lord? Shiman Linglan hurriedly said, why am I the city lord and not you? Han Fei said, to manage a city, the strongest person has to stand up. You are an explorer and I am a law enforcer. If I am the city lord, people have to listen to me. Read it quickly. Don't let people wait too long. Shiman Linglan held the jade slip and scanned it with her spiritual power. She immediately looked tense and her head was still buzzing. He felt that other than reading words, there was nothing else he could do. He was a reading machine. But anyway, she was an explorer now. Shiman Linglan quickly calmed herself down and maintained a cold posture, thinking that there were fish heads below. Yes, they are all fish heads. I will read the words to the fish heads. Under everyone's expectant gazes, Shiman Linglan slowly said, I am Shiman Linglan. I hereby announce that everyone who is under the rule of the city of you, regardless of whether it is the city or the villages, will forever be free. Below, the mountains and seas roared, the voices shook and filled the sky. Shiman Linglan was stunned for a moment. Then, she hurriedly continued, no matter if it's the former aristocratic families, the current Avengers, or the future city lord, the freedom of these people will be recognized and protected. When the people, or any one of them, make any effort for their own freedom, no one is allowed to do anything to oppress them. Shiman Linglan relaxed a little and continued to read, however, under the rule of City of You, there are billions of people. The law must be enforced to prevent people with bad intentions from doing things that are difficult to understand. Humans must be united. They must not kill each other, plunder, or bully the weak. Humans must set their sights on the future and fight against the sea race. For the survival of the human race, everyone must work together. Only when everyone is united can we succeed. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Shiman Linglan took a deep breath and said, now, with my authority, I officially announce that the former City of You is gone. Today, City of You will be renamed the City of Justice. We will fight for the rise of the human race and for the justice in our hearts. Han Fei stood aside and watched with a smile. When there were too many people, what were they talking about? They couldn't hear them clearly. He could only find one or two voices among them. The main thing was still roaring. It was all roaring. What Shiman Linglan wanted to do was to establish the image of the city lord. As for other things, the city lord didn't need to say much. He just needed to be treated like a god by the people. Han Fei took over the topic and shouted, the City of Justice has just been established and we need talents. This was a time when talents were needed. The strong had the duty and responsibility of the strong. Now, the City Lord's mansion is recruiting rogue cultivators, explorers, law enforcers, and talented hidden fishers to govern this city. Swish! 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 Many people had already soared into the air, looking like they couldn't wait any longer. At this moment, many people understood that this was a great opportunity. If they joined the Avengers, they would be one of their own. However, Han Fei also saw many people's expressions change. In the crowd, someone shouted, don't listen to him. He made it sound nice, but he's just an aristocratic family. They win over the strong and exploit the people. Do they really think they are here to liberate us? I didn't expect that they just hit a little deeper. If they recruit the strong, what about us ordinary people? This is not fair. What the fuck do you know? If they don't recruit, do you expect the city lord to take care of everything? Where's your brain? Do you have anything for them to exploit? For a moment, the crowd was divided into two groups. Han Fei's eyes flashed. Clang! The sledgehammer hit and the sound reverberated. Han Fei's voice rippled. All those who are recruited will be supervised by the people. However, those who do immoral things will be severely punished. Sure enough, when Han Fei said this, many people were relieved and continued to cheer. Of course, someone shouted, "Don't listen to him. The strong will only protect the strong. They won't think about us." Swish! Han Fei suddenly disappeared and instantly captured a person. The void lines controlled this person. He immediately smiled and thought, what a bunch of idiots. Han Fei controlled this person's appearance and shouted, "Does anyone know this person?" Immediately, many people exclaimed, "I know this person. He's from the Zhou family." Someone said angrily, "Fuck, isn't he Zhou Xiaotian?" Then, Han Fei grinned. "Everyone, there are many people from the big clans in the crowd. Pay attention to the people around you. Once they are confirmed, they can be seriously injured and sent here. Once their identity is confirmed, they can be killed on the spot." Bam! The disciple of the Zhou family who was controlled by Han Fei was directly shattered into a mist of blood. Han Fei grinned and said, "Don't forget. Although we are righteous, we are also avengers. Good job. The city of justice can't be tarnished by the big clans. Everyone, look for him. He's Yang Tai. I can't be wrong. He's from the Yang family. I have one here too. He's from the Dongfang family. Definitely. He has a birthmark on his neck. I have one here too." In an instant, the scene was chaotic. Shiman Linglan said to Han Fei via voice transmission, "Will it be chaotic?" Han Fei shook his head. "This is not an era of peace, but a world of chaos. To win the hearts of the people and eliminate the dissidents, let's cultivate the sense of ownership of this city first." In the blink of an eye, more than 80 people with swollen faces were thrown out of the building. There were even more who hadn't been caught and had taken advantage of the chaos to escape. Han Fei looked at those people indifferently. "I'll give you a reason to explain in front of everyone. If you pass the test, I'll let you go. You have 10 seconds. Immediately, someone scrambled and shouted, "I'm just a relative of a big clan. I wasn't taken away." However, as soon as this person said, "My lord, don't listen to him. He was shouting just now, telling us not to trust the decision of City Lord Shiman. This son of a bitch is too evil. Yes, I can prove it. And me." We all heard him. Han Fei tilted his head and looked at the man, and the latter immediately choked. "No, Han Fei sighed gloomily. "Thank you for being the first to come out to die." Puff. After killing this person with a casual slash, Han Fei looked at the others. "What do you say?" Those who were caught in public were the kind of people who didn't know how to hide themselves. They were also the ones who shouted the loudest just now. So, there was basically no mistake. Make up a reason. They couldn't make it up. Suddenly, someone shouted, "Everyone, self-destruct." Swish. At the moment when that person shouted self-destruct, a white sword light flashed past. As soon as the sword drawing technique was used, how could these people who weren't even hanging fishers guard against it? Good job. These sons of bitches are lucky. They should be killed. Above the void, the venerables snorted coldly and left. They couldn't stand it anymore. After executing a group of people, Han Fei turned around and shouted, "Everyone, I only hope that you will be vigilant. In the future, the City of Justice will have some relevant decrees. All city gates will be posted with fish skin notices. Now, I would like to announce another thing." When the crowd calmed down, Han Fei shouted, "In a month, whether it is the City of Justice or the subordinate towns, all young people who have awakened their spiritual beasts can come to the city to gather. At that time, the first large-scale free awakening since the establishment of the City of Justice will begin. Don't miss it. 7 days later. Han Fei replanned the City of Justice with his own experience. This was something that Shimin Linglan didn't know. However, he didn't know much about it. The best way was to take the existing plans of the floating island, the Scattered Stars Island, and other places and use them directly. At this moment, in the construction site of a mansion of a big clan, Han Fei and Shimin Linglan were sitting in a large tent. Of course, the city lord's mansion had to be built, but they didn't need to build it. The two of them had been very busy these days. With a swish, someone opened the tent and came in. General Han, the areas of the north, south, east, and west have been divided. The market plan will be the same as before. There won't be much change. Han Fei said without raising his head, well, go and arrange for all the big clan mansions to be demolished. Build some material reserve exchange centers, refining halls, alchemy workshops, dangling fishers unions, pioneering groups. Yes, General Han. Clatter. Another person opened the tent and came in. General Han, according to your instructions, 100 law enforcers and 800 hidden fishers have been selected from the recruited crowd according to the wishes of the ordinary people. They have been divided into 4 jurisdictions. Han Fei shrugged. Not enough. How can so few people be enough for such a big city? However, don't worry. We must consider the people carefully. The rest of the people will be incorporated into the law enforcement team to carry out daily city management and be supervised by the people. Yes, General Han. Clatter. EU walked in. General Han, City Lord, at present, a large number of people are pouring in from the towns around the City of Justice, saying that they want to learn combat skills and cultivation methods. However, there are too many people in the city, so it's not easy to arrange. The central library of the City of Justice that we set up is almost full. Han Fei glanced at EU. Put up a fish skin notice outside the library and tell them to wait for a few days. At that time, there will be people going to the major villages and towns to teach them personally. In addition, each village and town can arrange 10 people to come here to store cultivation methods and combat skills. EU glanced at Shimin Linglan, who seemed to be racking her brains and thinking about something, turned around and left quickly. Han Fei said, phew. It's tiring to be an emperor. Shimin Linglan was puzzled. What is an emperor? Han Fei waved his hand. Nothing. How is the Justice Employment Hall you built? Shimin Linglan shook her head helplessly. It's very difficult to design. Han Fei took the pile of fish skin maps in front of Shimin Linglan and said, actually, it's not difficult. The employment hall only needs to have 2 functions. Issue a mission, accept a mission, and receive a mission. Whoever completes the mission will take the commission. The employment hall only charges basic service fees. Shimin Linglan asked, what if more than one person completes a mission at the same time? Han Fei nodded. That's simple. Is it a team mission or a solo mission? Just don't issue a solo mission to the public after you accept it. Shimin Linglan asked, what about points? Why do people get points for doing missions? Why do they give points to employers every time? Han Fei said, give them something to pursue. Points can be used to upgrade one's employment rank, and they can be exchanged for resources. There will be more people taking on missions. Shimin Linglan pushed all the things to Han Fei. Spiritual energy. Do we have enough spirit awakening fluid? What if we can't make ends meet? Han Fei thought to himself, I have my own wealth. He said unhurriedly, this is the first mission to win the loyalty of the people. It doesn't matter how we do it. What matters is that we do it. Half a month later. While Han Fei and Shimin Linglan were discussing, the outside world was crowded. Today's City of Justice was the busiest in its history. The registration office of the law enforcement team was crowded with people. Someone complained, isn't it too slow to recruit people? Someone sneered. If you don't want to queue, you can leave the team. Lord Mayor is carefully screening law enforcement personnel. Do you think you can just enter? Chao Xian came from a village. When he went to the sea, he heard that Yu City had changed dynasties and become a city of justice. The big clan was gone. The Avenger liberated the whole city, bringing freedom and justice to everyone. At first, he didn't believe it. However, from the moment he entered the city to now, he was in a daze. Was this still the Yu City he knew? Because he saw a notice at the city gate, saying that as long as he joined the law enforcement team, he could see cultivation methods and combat skills at will. If he was successfully selected, he would be rewarded with a low-quality divine weapon. At that time, Chao Xian was tempted. At this moment, looking at the long line at the registration office, Chao Xian said, "Brother, cut the line." Immediately, a group of people turned around and glared at this person. Which son of a bitch said that he wanted to cut the line? Chao Xian immediately shrank his head. Nowadays, can't you cut the line? Chao Xian was stunned and quickly laughed. I'll go line up. I'll go line up. Seeing that there were too many people, Chao Xian didn't know where to go. Someone laughed and said, "Brother, you just came back from the sea, right? Don't even think about joining the law enforcement team. If you don't have the strength of a hidden fisher, how can you join the law enforcement team?" Chao Xian was speechless. Is a hidden fisher so worthless? But give me a while and I'll be able to make a breakthrough. Someone said, "You just came back from the sea. You must go to the logistics division. There, you can exchange for the materials you want, and the service fee is very low, only 10%. Chao Xian's eyes lit up. There's such a place. In the logistics division, there were only 120 windows in total in the 4 areas. Every day the place was crowded with people. The 4 logistics divisions had been queuing up from morning till night. It could be seen that there were definitely a lot of people who exchanged for materials. In fact, most people couldn't exchange for high-level materials. Therefore, the task of the logistics division was to receive a pile of materials from one person and then give these materials to other people who wanted them. The service fee was only 10%. At this moment, Chao Xian looked at the people who were even more than the law enforcement team and was dumbfounded. How long do I have to wait? Just when Chao Xian was hesitating whether to wait or not, he suddenly heard someone shout, good news, the logistics division is expanding. Does anyone want to join the logistics division? 1 shift every 7 days, and the benefits are extremely high. When you come in, you can get 2 caddies of spiritual spring. The benefits are comparable to those of the law enforcement team. You can have the priority to exchange for the resources in the logistics division. In an instant, Chao Xian was pushed away by someone. He watched as those people rushed forward like crazy. In an instant, people surged and shouted, "Me! I want to join. I came first. I am a peak-level great fishing master. I am a peak-level hanging fisher." What? You are a hanging fisher? Why are you here? Go to the employment hall. The money there is more, and there are all kinds of tasks. Oh, really? Where is the employment hall? Chao Xian asked, what is this place? Forget it, anyway, I can't find a place to exchange resources here. Let's go elsewhere first. Chapter 1142. As one of the millions of ordinary people, although Chao Xian knew that he was ordinary, he had been working hard. To put it more bluntly, although he was a loser, he also had the dream of becoming a god. Chao Xian finally found the employment hall amidst the crowd. This hall was quite large because it was based on the mansion of a large clan. It didn't take long for Chao Xian to squeeze in. Then, he saw that many people were holding booklets in their hands. In addition to the booklets, Chao Xian also saw that the walls of this hall were covered with all kinds of small advertising-like tasks. Go to the sea area 2,000 kilometers offshore, find the 5-step coral snake, the corpse must be intact. The reward is a green spiritual fruit, effective for 3 days. Chao Xian's eyes lit up, and he was about to rush over to talk to the waiter, only to see that the fish skin was taken off. Then, under Chao Xian's gaze, a waiter handed something to the young woman. That was it. Chao Xian was speechless. She was taken away just like that. However, Chao Xian didn't panic. Anyway, there were still many. He could just continue to look at the next one. Go to the sea area 3,000 kilometers offshore, find a coral reef, find a red horn sea anemone. The requirement is, before he finished reading the requirements, the fish skin map was taken off again and taken away. Chao Xian continued to look, because a new fish skin map was hung up again. Go to the Whirlpool Valley, hunt the black scale flood dragon, the corpse must be intact. The reward is a low-quality divine weapon, 3 spiritual energy fruits, and 1 energy fruit. Effective for 5 days. Chao Xian frowned slightly. This was a bit difficult. He knew about the Whirlpool Valley. This seemed a bit difficult. However, it was not impossible to give it a try. He had a trump card, so he should be able to. However, when Chao Xian was about to shout, a man shouted, "I'll take the Whirlpool Valley mission. It's not a problem. I can finish it in 3 days." Chao Xian was dumbfounded. He finally understood that the missions here had to be fought for. There were many people like him who were eyeing them covetously. As soon as a waiter took out a fish skin, someone next to him shouted, "No matter what this mission is, I'll take it. I'm an intermediate hidden fisher." Chao Xian felt a toothache. The missions that no one picked up were either too low in reward or too difficult. There were also those who hunted exotic creatures, which was not something that ordinary people could do. Chao Xian keenly noticed that one of the attendants was reaching for the fish skin. He instantly roared, "Whatever the mission is, I'll take it." The receptionist glanced at him. "If I take out a difficult task, can you accept it?" With that, the attendant glanced at the fish skin map and shrugged. "Fine. You won the bet." Then, the staff unfolded the fish skin map and showed it to Chao Xian. It wasn't a sea mission. Go to the Great Desolate Village on the reef coast and give them pointers on cultivation techniques and combat skills. The mission will only end after you receive the approval of the village chief. A semi-divine weapon for revenge and 100 pounds of spiritual spring. Recognition type mission, no time limit. Suddenly, Chao Xian's eyes lit up. Semi-divine weapons? And 100 caddies of spirit spring? Chao Xian was overjoyed. He was now short of a semi-divine weapon, so he wanted to exchange for it at the logistics division. Who could have predicted this? He received a mission just like that. As far as Chao Xian knew, although the village was weak, there would be strong experts. But under normal circumstances, the strong would go to higher places and wouldn't stay for long. Chao Xian hurriedly said, "I'll take it, I'll take it." The attendant said, "Because it's a special mission, this fish skin map is for you. However, to complete the mission and receive the reward, you must have the village chief's seal." Okay. Chao Xian asked for the location of the Great Desolate Village excitedly and left the city. The moment he received this mission, he immediately fell in love with this city of justice. It was completely different from the previous Yu city. Chao Xian murmured, "I'm told that this city of justice is still being replanned. Maybe it will be ready when I come back. When the time comes, I can use the resources I have on me to exchange with the logistics division. I might even be able to get something better." The Great Desolate Village. Chao Xian looked at the village that covered an area of no more than 100 square kilometers and soon asked where the village chief lived. When Chao Xian found the courtyard of the village chief's house, he saw a refiner who was even stronger than him. Before long, Chao Xian saw an old man and a young man walking out of the courtyard hand in hand. The old man said, "In that case, the hunting mission of the village will be handed over to you. Because our village is relatively remote, many men died in the war in the past. Many children don't even have enough to eat. They don't have the talent, so they have to eat more." The young man smiled. "Don't worry, village chief. As long as I'm here, the children in the village can eat whatever they want. They will definitely eat their fill before the awakening of their talents. After the young man left, the village chief looked at Chao Xian and immediately beamed. Hey, an honorable guest is here. May I ask what mission you accepted? Chao Xian asked in surprise, Village chief, do you give out many missions in your village? The village chief said with a smile, not many at all. Not many at all. We don't have the money to issue missions even if we want to. In other villages, we can issue dozens of missions in one go. Our great desolate village only issued dozens of missions because the city lord stayed in our village for a few days and took care of us. Chao Xian was surprised. The city lord stayed here before. The village chief laughed. That was decades ago. City lord Shiman was kicked out of the Shiman family and temporarily stayed in our great desolate village. Then, he left without a sound and took Marshal Han with him. Sigh, I didn't know that they would grow to become like this. Hiss. General Han. Chao Xian was shocked. On the way back to the City of Justice, people were talking about Shiman Linglan and General Han. Although he had never seen them before, they were talking about how powerful they were. They said that City Lord Shiman killed his way through an elite family in the Storm Strait. He was comparable to a venerable and had reached the peak of the venerable realm. Chao Xian didn't dare to think about such a person. Venerable one. How fucking strong was that? However, General Han was a legend. He was said to be a mid-level enforcer who killed an explorer and was the strongest general of the Avenger. At that time, Chao Xian was shocked. Was he bragging? An enforcer could kill an explorer. What kind of enforcer was that? So, both of them came from the Great Desolate Village? It wasn't the first time the village chief saw such an expression. He smiled. Don't worry, you will be rewarded. Oh right, what's your mission? Oh. I'm here to teach them cultivation techniques and combat techniques. The village chief exclaimed, oh, so it's this mission. Looks like you will have to stay in that stupid, General Han's house. Ever since the news about General Han came, all the kids went there. Even the library was placed in the city lord's residence. Chao Xian nodded and said with a smile, Village chief, to what extent can I teach them? Should I teach them a complete set of combat techniques? The village chief said, I have to agree to that. But in reality, 3 months is enough. After that, the next teacher will come over. However, in these 3 months, you have to teach them seriously. The children need to improve. Chao Xian was surprised to hear that they could get a semi-divine weapon in 3 months. Was there such a benefit? But when the village chief and Chao Xian came to the so-called residence, he was stunned. Just such a small, shabby house. The village chief said with a smile, this small house is where General Han used to live. The big house next to it is the former residence of the mayor. With that said, the village chief roared, brats, come here. Your teacher is here. Buzz. From all directions, a group of children ran over, and one of them shouted, Village chief, I'm going to the reef beach to call people. Chao Xian wondered, Village chief, this reef beach seems to be quite famous. Chao Xian was puzzled. After all, the mission was to teach the great desolate village next to the reef beach. It meant that the reef beach was more famous than the great desolate village. The village chief said with a smile, there are many reefs in this small place. There are fewer estuaries. However, the danger level of this reef coast was not high. Besides, the terrain there is open. You can teach there during the day. A moment later, Chao Xian felt terrible. There must be thousands of people here, right? The village chief quickly said, ha. Well, in fact, we also issued a mission to recruit some dangling fishers. However, no one has arrived yet. You are the first one to come. But it doesn't matter. More people will come later. Chao Xian was relieved. That's good. Otherwise, how can I teach so many children? Since he had accepted the mission and was paid, Chao Xian certainly wouldn't slack off. So he said to the children, "Listen, everyone. I have 3 purposes for teaching. First, I will check your spiritual heritage, then I will choose an art for you, and finally, I will begin to teach you combat skills. During this period, you must work hard. As long as you work hard, you won't be bad." "Okay, teacher." "Teacher, are we testing the spiritual heritage now?" "Teacher, I want to choose a heaven-level art." Chao Xian was speechless. "Even I don't have a heaven-level art." "You want a heaven-level art?" "If there is a heaven-level art, how can I come here to teach students?" However, the village chief shouted, "You have to do it step by step. Don't rush. You have to cultivate to the heaven level, not the heaven level at the beginning, understand? When you become as strong as the city lord and Marshal Han in the future, we will give you the heaven level arts and combat skills of our village." Puff. Chao Xian was stunned. Really? What does he mean? There are heaven-level arts and combat skills in the Grand Desolate Village? Because he had to prepare the spiritual heritage testing stone and check the library, Chao Xian scheduled the teaching for the next day. He couldn't live in the place where the city lord used to live. After all, it had been changed into a library. He could only live in Han Fei's small shabby house. Chao Xian glanced at the door of the house, at the 2 peach trees that had lost their peaches, and smiled. Immediately, he pushed the door open. At this time, a cloud of dust fell. Looking around, it was covered with dust and slightly damp. Seeing this, Chao Xian smiled faintly. He was also from the village and had lived in such a house. However, Marshal Han's house was very tidy, and everything was arranged neatly. Of course, Chao Xian didn't take it seriously. No matter how good the house was, as a peak-level hanging fisher, he didn't need to sleep in a house. Just glancing at it, Chao Xian went to the library next door. At this moment, the afternoon sun was shining brightly. When Chao Xian entered the door, he saw an old man with a broken hand and a lame leg lying on a chair basking in the sun. Chao Xian didn't know the strength of the old man at first glance. It seemed that this old man was also a strong master. So Chao Xian asked politely, "Sir, I am a new teacher. I need to take a look at the cultivation arts and combat skills in the library." "Okay." The old man was lying half dead. Maybe he had been lying for too long and couldn't get up. Chao Xian didn't say much and went straight into the house. After a while, when he saw the renovated bookshelf, he randomly picked a book. "Fuck." Chao Xian threw the book away. The old man's voice sounded leisurely outside, "Don't throw the book away. How can you be a teacher with such a temper? Even a fool is better than you." Chao Xian hurriedly picked up the book. It was no wonder that he was surprised. "I randomly picked a heaven-level combat skill. Is this fucking reasonable?" Yes, the heaven-level combat skill was called Wind Feather Sword Record, and it was heaven-level, low quality. Chao Xian didn't feel good at all. He traveled far and wide and only got a heaven-level, low-quality swimming technique by accident. Who would have thought that in such a small village, he would be able to get a book so easily? Instantly, Chao Xian felt that he had made a fortune. 3 months of teaching was really too short. He had to teach for at least a year to get it. As Chao Xian flipped through the book, he found 6 heaven-level, low-quality combat skills and more than 30 types of cultivation arts, some of which were even better than his own. After confirming the content, Chao Xian was not in a hurry. He couldn't help but walk out of the door and ask the old man, "Senior, do these cultivation arts and combat skills originally exist in the Grand Desolate Village?" The old man wasn't arrogant and said indifferently, "Aren't they copied by the villagers in the city?" "TSK, I heard that the righteous city is very lively now. It's not good for me to go. I'll just leave it here for retirement." Chao Xian was stunned. Heaven-level combat skills are also copied. The old man patted the chair. "My young mistress is the city lord. Isn't it normal for the Grand Desolate Village to copy a few more?" Chao Xian lost his voice. "Ah. You, The old man smiled, "Don't make a fuss. When she was young, she left with the little fool. She has no feelings for me." Chao Xian couldn't help but be interested. "Senior, was the city lord extremely talented in the past? How many years has it been and she's already so strong?" The old man said, "Young mistress can't do it. The fool is still better." Chao Xian frowned. "Who is the fool you're talking about?" The old man smiled, "That Wang Han. He used to be a fool, but he's amazing. In this world, there aren't many people who are as talented as him." Chao Xian felt that something wasn't right. If General Han was talented, then why was Shiman Linglan the city lord? However, he heard that General Han was the one speaking on Liberation Day. Did he not hear enough news? The old man said, "It's nothing. There are always differences in talent. You can't expect everyone to be a genius. In this chaotic world, geniuses sometimes don't live long." "Oh right, I don't ask you to stay at my place tonight. Go sleep somewhere else." Teaching wasn't a boring life. It was mainly because there were too few teachers in the grand desolate village. Chao Xian was busy every day. There were too many children. It wasn't possible to take care of everything. However, the process of teaching was very fulfilling. While teaching others, he could also deepen his own understanding. When he was free, Chao Xian would go to the reef beach to take a look. He felt that it was good to not have to take risks. Unfortunately, this wasn't his path. He wanted to become strong. Why wouldn't he want a free heaven-level combat skill? Half a month passed until the day the village leader brought a group of 12-year-olds to the city. Chao Xian felt the pressure was greatly reduced. He saw that the peaches on the peach tree had grown. He picked one and pushed open the door of his house again. "Forget it. I'll just relax for a while. I still need to find a place to sleep." The night was as cold as water. Chao Xian didn't dare to sleep deeply. This was his habit. He subconsciously scanned the house with his perception. Suddenly, Chao Xian felt something was wrong. He found that there was a partition in the wall. "Huh! There's something in it." Chao Xian flipped over and stood up, even though he knew it wasn't a good idea. He knew that this wasn't a good idea, but no one had lived in this house for a long time. It shouldn't be a problem to satisfy his curiosity, right? Behind a side cabinet, Chao Xian pulled away the dried seaweed leaves and found a book called Turtle Essence Breathing Technique hidden inside. There were also a few weapons and a few dried spirit fruits hidden in a box. He felt that she might have forgotten to bring these things with her when she left. However, there was another layer inside. It was just that the inner layer was made of mud. If one didn't have perception, they wouldn't find the inner layer. Chao Xian thought to himself, "It's been hidden for so long. Marshal Han and the others shouldn't have found it when they were young. What if it's very important?" Of course, Chao Xian didn't think it was a special treasure. It was just a small box. After a while, when Chao Xian took out the small wooden box, he found a letter and a ring inside. Chao Xian didn't feel anything special about the ring because it was too small and seemed to be only suitable for a newborn child to wear. Out of curiosity, Chao Xian opened the unsealed letter and glanced at it. However, as Chao Xian looked at it, his face suddenly became strange. In the letter, it was written as follows: "Han, if you can read this letter one day, it means that you have unexpectedly succeeded in your cultivation, your mind should have recovered, and your strength should be very strong. If this is the case, then you really need to read this letter. If others see it, please leave the letter here. It's of no value to you." Chao Xian sighed slightly and continued to read. "Han, since you have become a strong person, then I still have to tell you. Actually, I told you that your mother is dead, but I didn't do dual cultivation, just that I didn't dare to marry a wife. The world is so chaotic, I'm afraid that I might die one day. If you are sober, don't be fooled by others. Let me tell you, there are not many people in this world who are trustworthy, remember. In the letter, In addition to a lot of words not to be fooled, the second half was Chao Xian's sigh. It was written, Han, I found you on the reef beach. At that time, you were wrapped in a transparent ball as thin as a jellyfish's skin, with nothing on your body except this ring in your hand. Thinking about it, maybe your parents left it for you. I don't know whose child you are either. However, this should be a chance given to you by the heavens. You have been born with great strength since you were young, but the heavens are jealous of geniuses. I tried countless times, but still couldn't make you cultivate. I tried my best. Alas, your father's talent is mediocre, and I will probably die in battle. However, I'm not afraid, I'm used to it. But Han, don't follow in my footsteps. If you really have to go to the battlefield, your life is more important. As for whether you can find your biological parents, it depends on your own ability. By the way, when you see this letter, I will probably be dead. Set up a tombstone for me, under the peach tree at the door. I also want to live a peaceful life for a few days. In the whole letter, it only explained Han Fei's mysterious background. In addition to this, Chao Xian was surprised that he couldn't cultivate when he was young. Chao Xian put away the letter and the ring, and a gleam of light flashed in his eyes. I have to give it to General Han. He knew that this was an opportunity, and it was definitely not a small opportunity. 3 months later. On the reef beach, thousands of youths were practicing their fists, their bodies surging with qi and blood. The air crackled from their punches. Chao Xian shouted angrily, "Stop!" Chao Xian was on a reef, looking fierce. Today, I will teach you about the path. Now, it is a turbulent era. Most of you will eventually walk out of the great desolate village. Everyone will have their own path. Some want to be strong, some want to live a better life, some pursue adventures. However, today, the City of Justice shows you a path. That place may be the place where you rise. Chao Xian sighed in his heart and shouted coldly, "This is the best era, but also the worst era. Some people fall, and some rise. Today's City of Justice is different. I will lead you into cultivation, and the next step is up to you. My suggestion is to go to the City of Justice. I heard that there is a trial battlefield there. Maybe, you will rise from there." Suddenly, a child asked, "Teacher, what is your path?" Chao Xian was taken aback, turned around, and looked at the vast sea. He was very clear that the weak were not qualified to talk about the path. If there was, it would be this endless sea. Chapter 1143. The City of Justice, including the surrounding islands near the sea, had all opened up trial battlefields. The so-called trial battlefields were all the beaches of the City of Justice and the surrounding villages and towns near the sea. According to the distance of the sea, they were divided into different levels. For example, the reef beach could be called one of the lowest trial battlefields. Han Fei's idea was very simple, which was different from fishing on the sea in the future. At this time, there was no so-called safe area in the sea. Therefore, he directly adopted the combat mode on the Scattered Stars Island. Of course, after formulating various policies, Han Fei and Shiman Linglan went to sea again. The reason was that the resources of the Avenger had been consumed by more than 60% as early as a month after the establishment of the City of Justice. The low tax of the City of Justice could only maintain a daily balance between supply and demand. The Avenger fleet was like a ghost wandering on the sea. About every year or so, they would come back. Under normal circumstances, only the ordinary Avenger would come back, but the main ship wouldn't. As for Jia Wuxing, because he had become an explorer, he was left in the city, which made him feel very aggrieved. At this moment, the Avenger fleet had been here for almost a year. The 10 big ships that accompanied it had basically gone back once. Unlike the previous Avenger fleet, the current Avenger fleet's formation had changed. The prototype of a tyrannical big ship had appeared, which was all thanks to Han Fei. Han Fei was carving arrays at the bottom of the ship at this moment, and no creatures dared to approach him. Shiman Linglan appeared beside Han Fei. The big clan seemed to be really quiet now. After many collisions with the City of Justice, it is said that the big clans have moved their exploration direction to the north. Han Fei said casually, "No, this is just the forbearance of the big clans. I said we have 500 years, but in fact, it would be good if we could have 50 years. If those venerables recover, the big clans will definitely infiltrate the City of Justice again." Shiman Linglan was shocked. 50 years? So fast? Han Fei smiled. For the venerables, 50 years is nothing. If it is necessary, let alone 50 years, even if it is 500 years or 5,000 years, they can bear it. Although I have the support of the people, there are still too few strong masters. You need to make a breakthrough as soon as possible. Shiman Linglan frowned. As long as I can completely devour the Daoist aura of those venerables, it is only a matter of time before I become a peak-level law enforcer. 50 years might be possible. Han Fei said with a smile, "Don't underestimate your potential. The strength of your spiritual heritage only determines the speed of your cultivation. You have the venerable bone, so it's impossible for you to be slower than those geniuses. The most important thing was to become a peak-level explorer and to break through to become a venerable. That was what needed to be truly enlightened. Your Grand Tao has already been confirmed, peak-level explorers won't be a problem for you. The Exalt realm is the key to you." Shiman Linglan replied indifferently, "What about you? Are you suppressing your cultivation again?" Han Fei chuckled. "I'm used to it." Shiman Linglan asked curiously, "I don't understand. Why are you suppressing your cultivation? If you become an explorer, I'm afraid you won't have many opponents in the explorer realm." Han Fei thought to himself, "If I continue to make breakthroughs, too many things will change." At this moment, the City of Justice had just gotten back on track. "I don't dare." Han Fei smiled. "Because I take a different path. This path is extremely difficult. You will need to cultivate every realm to perfection." Shiman Linglan's gaze turned serious. "It's that hard? What path is it?" Han Fei glanced at her and said casually, "Invincible." Shiman Linglan felt as if a mountain had hit her chest. Invincible? In this world, who dares to say that they are invincible? If Han Fei chose this path, wouldn't it be the strongest path? However, after witnessing so many miracles, she felt that Han Fei had always been the strongest. Shiman Linglan nodded. "I believe you. I'll wait for you to become a venerable. However, we have plenty of time. It's time to go back. Take your time." "Okay." At the port of the City of Justice. Someone was running wildly at the port. "The Avenger is back." A large group of law enforcers and hidden fishers came to greet them. Everyone shouted in unison, "Welcome back to the city, City Master." Jia Wuxing stood on the deck. "How is it?" "Captain, General Han, has anyone become an explorer?" "I've been sitting in the city every day and my brain has become big." Among the former members of the Avenger, a thin man was pushed out, looking speechless. Jia Wuxing roared, "Yang Xiaogao, you've become an explorer now. Okay, from today on, you stay in the city, and I'll go back to the ship." "Ha ha ha, you're really a good brother." Yang Xiaogao was speechless. "No, old Jia. You're so familiar with the City of Justice. I can't do it." Jia Wuxing said angrily, "Bullshit, I do nothing but sign and dig out the inventory every day. Anyone can do this job. If you're my brother, let's do it one by one. I promise I'll create a new explorer for you next year." Shiman Linglan said with a black face, "Okay, you're too loud. Is there anything big in the city this year?" Jia Wuxing waved his hand. "Captain, don't worry. Nothing happened. General Han's plan is being carried out as planned. This year, 356 new law enforcers and 3,108 hidden fishers were born. I don't remember the rest. Anyway, many people have improved. This is all thanks to you and General Han." Hearing this, Han Fei felt that this was a lot. In such an era, it was already very exaggerated that so many strong masters were born in a year. Of course, this was only the first year. It might not be so good in the future. Shiman Linglan's eyes lit up and she looked at Han Fei. So many. Han Fei smiled faintly. It doesn't matter. This is only the first year. In the next 10 years, there will definitely be explorers. Jia Wuxing howled. Unfortunately, to become an explorer, one has to pass the lightning tribulation. This year, 3 people passed the tribulation and all died. Han Fei frowned. Next time someone wants to pass the tribulation, let them wait for a year. When the Avenger returns, help them pass the tribulation. Jia Wuxing nodded and suddenly said, "Oh, by the way, General Han. Do you know a man named Chao Xian? This man said that he had your father's last wish and relic for you. However, he insisted on seeing you in person. I detained him in the city lord's mansion." Shiman Linglan was surprised. "Who are you talking about?" "Wang Han's father." Han Fei frowned too. "Take me to him." In the city lord's mansion. Chao Xian was not in a hurry. He knew that as long as General Han didn't return to the great desolate village, he wouldn't find his father's relic. This was an opportunity. He had to see General Han in person. Besides, although he stayed in the city lord's mansion, the rich spiritual energy there could help him continue to polish his realm. Once he became a hidden fisher, he would definitely not be weak. Suddenly, 3 figures appeared in Chao Xian's small yard. Jia Wuxing shouted, "General Han, it's this guy. He doesn't trust me and refuses to give me anything." Chao Xian was shocked. If he guessed right, the young man and the arrogant woman in front of him must be General Han and City Lord Shiman. Chao Xian quickly got up and said respectfully, "I'm Chao Xian. Nice to meet you, City Lord and General Han." Han Fei said casually, "You mean you have my father's relic?" What Han Fei could think of was the wooden turtle and a bag of things that he forgot to take with him before he left. Chao Xian quickly said, "A year ago, I received a teaching mission from the Great Desolate Village. Because the former residence of the City Lord and General Han became a place that people yearned for, I boldly lived in General Han's house and accidentally discovered a secret. General Han doesn't know." Han Fei's eyes narrowed slightly. "Where is it?" Chao Xian hurriedly said, "It's actually on me. I've been carrying it with me." Jia Wuxing was stunned. "That's impossible. I've seen it." "Where is it?" Chao Xian smiled shamefully. "Actually, it's nothing special." "So, Lord Jia didn't notice it." With that said, Chao Xian took out the letter and the ring from a table in his room. Jia Wuxing was speechless. "You didn't hide such an important thing?" Han Fei patted Jia Wuxing's shoulder and said, "You don't understand. The most dangerous place is the safest place. Your attention is focused on the most valuable part of him." When Han Fei saw the ring on the letter, his pupils suddenly constricted. This is the time ring. He had always ignored a problem. He thought that his soul had just transmigrated. Why did the time ring follow him here? But it's limited to you. The moment the time ring appeared, he immediately understood something. Calmly, Han Fei flipped his hand, put away the ring, and then opened the envelope to read. Both Shiman Linglan and Jia Wuxing looked at Han Fei, because Han Fei's brows had been frowning. In fact, Han Fei was thinking, it's not surprising that the reincarnation secret realm was picked up. He had been thinking, how do I get out of the reincarnation soul realm? However, at this moment, he suddenly thought of the simplest question. Did I really come to the reincarnation soul realm? After all, the top 5 soul realms all had a way to get out. However, he didn't know how to go back to the reincarnation soul realm. Many heavenly talents from the big clans in the Thousand-Star City had entered it, but had he met them? No, not even once, and there are no signs. Han Fei was thinking at this moment, the Beast King said that the River of Time was extremely difficult to cross. Then, What if the river of time and the normal reincarnation soul realm were two different places? Han Fei suddenly took a deep breath. The entrance he came in was in the fifth soul realm. At this time, when he saw the time ring, Han Fei would inevitably think of the time dragon carp. Could it be that he didn't actually enter the soul realm by accident? If this was the case, would there be any changes when he wore this time ring? Could this be the way out? Shiman Linglan asked, "What's wrong?" Han Fei had no scruples with Shiman Linglan and handed the letter directly to Shiman Linglan. Under Shiman Linglan's astonished gaze, Han Fei looked at Chao Xian and said lightly, "Yes, it's quite important. I can give you several choices. One is to board the Avenger, but I won't give you any reward. The other is to teach you a heaven-level, divine quality body tempering technique. The third is up to you." Han Fei knew that Chao Xian must have something to ask of him after waiting for a year. This was a human instinct. However, he didn't know when he had become someone else's opportunity. The time ring that Chao Xian brought was indeed extremely important. He was willing to give it to him. Chao Xian was immediately refreshed, and his body straightened. Boarding the Avenger? That was not easy to get on. It was said that there were no weaklings on the Avenger. However, a heaven-level, divine quality body tempering technique was extremely valuable. Even the third option was enough for him to ask for a large number of resources. General Han and the city lord would definitely give him what he wanted as long as he could afford it. However, from the first option, Chao Xian saw the hope of becoming a real master. Compared to the last two temptations, they were all temporary. However, if he could board the Avenger, Chao Xian's eyes were firm. "I choose to board the Avenger." Jia Wuxing rubbed his head and shouted, "Boy, if you choose the last two options, I really want to slap you to death. Do you even need to think about it? Damn it, you are definitely the weakest person on the Avenger." Since the rise of the City of Righteousness, the standard of living of human beings had not skyrocketed. However, a series of fancy urban planning had brought the city and the surrounding villages and towns to life. The reef beach had become a place for the young people of the grand desolate village to cultivate. As for this cultivation, it had changed from training to actual combat. Strong masters would take over the task and come to guard the place to prevent accidents from happening. After a year of development, a bounty hall had been built next to the village leader's house. All kinds of bounty tasks began to gradually move from the city to the villages and towns. The people of the City of Righteousness no longer stuck to the City of Righteousness, but would travel to the surrounding villages and towns to see if there were suitable tasks. This morning, under the peach tree in front of Han Fei's house in the grand desolate village, Yu Shuai heard a lot of chatter outside. He pushed the door impatiently and said angrily, "What are you shouting for? The trial will start in half an hour." "Huh, who are you?" Yu Shuai suddenly saw a man and a woman standing under the peach tree at the door. The woman stood there. Her imposing manner was daunting. The man squatted and was carving a stele. However, there were no words on the stele. There were complicated lines drawn on it, which looked like an array. The man looked back at him. Suddenly, Yu Shuai shivered and exclaimed, "I'm Yu Shuai. Nice to meet you, General Han and City Lord Shiman." Yu Shuai broke out in a cold sweat. A year ago, when the Avenger entered the city, he watched the whole process. Didn't all the teachers live in Han Fei's house? Why did the two of them come when it was his turn? Huh? City Lord? General Han? Are you General Han? Wow! Did I see General Han? The group of children immediately burst into an uproar. What they admired most now was General Han. Because the people on the Avenger were always bragging about Han Fei's story. After all, Han Fei was more violent and could tear strong enemies apart with his bare hands. Whoop! A child ran to tell, "General Han is here, General Han is here." Han Fei smiled and carved a name with both hands, Wang Luan. Han Fei put down the stele, half of it in the soil, and said with a smile, "It's okay. You can continue to live here. I probably won't come back in the future." Yu Shuai didn't dare to speak, mainly because he didn't know what to say. Han Fei glanced at the big house next door and said lightly, "Let's go and have a look." Shimin Linglan nodded slightly. Han Fei stepped on an array, and mysterious lines appeared, supplemented by a spirit-gathering array. After 100 minutes, a small array was completed. However, Yu Shuai didn't dare to underestimate this array. The spiritual energy here was several times richer in an instant. Besides, he could see knife intent flowing in the array. It must be a killing array. Outside the killing array, there was a barrier. This barrier alone couldn't be broken by ordinary people. And this was just to guard a steel. When Yu Shuai was still looking at the steel in a daze, and when the group of children was still excited to come up and say hello, the two of them suddenly disappeared with a swish. Next door, the big house of the library hadn't opened, but an old man was already sitting on a chair, his face expressionless. When he saw Han Fei and Shimin Linglan, the old man raised his head with a smile. "Miss, you're awesome. You've become a city lord." Shimin Linglan had a complicated look in her eyes. "Grandpa Su, I just learned that you actually have the strength of a peak-level hidden fisher." The old man laughed. "It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Wang Han, did you awaken your spiritual sense?" Han Fei nodded slightly and threw a divine healing technique on the old man, but it didn't work. The old man shook his head and said, "Don't waste your energy. I've been here for too long. It can't be cured. Besides, it was cut off by a strong person. Only someone with the strength of a venerable can cure it." Shimin Linglan suddenly said, "So, Grandpa Su, you knew everything back then?" The old man grinned and said, "Back then, Wang Luan was a soldier under my command. He once asked me to take a look at this kid. When I came, I found out that this kid was amazingly talented. Wang Luan once tested his spiritual heritage. It was level 7. But when I came to check, it had become a level 9 spiritual heritage. However, when the Shimin family was in trouble, I thought that Miss and I were both abandoned, so I came here. If this kid rises, Miss will still have something to rely on." The old man said leisurely, "Who knows? You met him as soon as we arrived." The old man rambled on and on. "In the end," he said slowly, "the big clans won't give up. Miss, you haven't grown up enough. Only when you are no longer afraid of the venerable can you truly protect the city of justice." Shimin Linglan nodded. "Even if I can't do it, Wang Han can." The old man didn't deny it. He said lightly, "Go back. The city of justice is just getting better. I'm still waiting for its glory." Shimin Linglan said, "Grandpa Su, aren't you going back with us?" The old man sneered. "The grand desolate village is good. Really good. I didn't die at sea before. It's not easy for me to live the rest of my life in peace. Miss, are you willing to let me go back?" Shimin Linglan said, "Someone can take care of you." The old man shook his head. "I don't want to cause trouble for others. Everyone has their own things to do." "Me too. If a sea monster dares to set foot in the grand desolate village in the future, I can still kill them." Han Fei smiled. "That's good." The old man glanced at Han Fei with a smile. "Right? You know me well. Go and do your own things. I'll wait and see." The children who came later didn't see Han Fei and Shimin Linglan again. But the tombstone and peach tree in front of Han Fei's house became sacred grounds. People often came to see them. After leaving the grand desolate village, Han Fei and Shimin Linglan only stayed in the city of justice for 3 days. They made some city planning arrangements and then went to sea again. 12 years later. In the sea outside the city of justice, Yu flew over. "Captain, the Dongfang family's ship. They seem to have encountered a big demon in the explorer realm. They are fighting now." Shimin Linglan's eyes were cold. "Turn around and rob." Yu was now a peak-level law enforcer. She sneered. It's only been 12 years and they have already started to take action. They have crossed the line many times, especially in the past 2 years. They have robbed us of a lot of resources. Shiman Linglan said, this is the personality of a big family. They are only fighting for resources now. Once they have enough strength to rob resources, the internal war will start. Han Fei flew over from a big black ship and said indifferently, the city of justice has already been established. They just want to pick the fruits of the labor. The civil war will last a few years at most, but the city of justice is not what it used to be. Once they succeed, they will have hundreds of years to slowly make people forget the existence of the Avenger as long as the current situation remains unchanged. Cough. Han Fei's body trembled slightly. Shiman Linglan's heart skipped a beat. She hurriedly asked, how are you? Han Fei shook his head. I'm fine. Maybe it's just some memories. Shiman Linglan said, are you unable to suppress your realm? Han Fei smiled. I'm fine. After this, I'll go to the 100,000 mountains and see the Beast King. Shiman Linglan nodded. I'll go with you. Han Fei waved his hand. No need. The Avenger needs someone. I'll be back soon. It will take at most half a month. On the other side, huge waves were surging, and the sky was filled with blade lights. A clam girl was fighting with a human. Hey! How many years has it been since the Battle of the Venerables ended? How dare you come to the human territory? Your shell is not bad. I'll take it. The clam girl was not in the mood to fight anymore. She was fighting while retreating. Suddenly, the clam girl was shocked. She put away the long silk in her hand and closed her shell. Swish! However, she was one step too late. A streak of black light appeared and rushed in before the shell closed. Ah! A miserable scream came from the shell. Don't eat me. On the other side, Dongfang Ming's face changed greatly. He slashed at the two machetes in the air. Kacha! What? Advanced Explorer, Shiman Linglan. Huh! Hundreds of beasts appeared in the sky. Dongfang Ming was shocked and a thought flashed in his mind. Wang Han is here too. Is the Avenger here? Crash! A huge blood shadow shark with thousands of bloody scars appeared in the sky. It seemed to be trying to stop Han Fei and Shiman Linglan. However, he was only an intermediate explorer. How could he be a match for such a person? Han Fei used the draw technique and slashed at the blood shadow shark with the void lines. Shiman Linglan, who was already an advanced explorer, turned into mist and joined the battle. Her two blades instantly pierced at Dongfang Ming. Puff! Chilla! Half of Dongfang Ming's body exploded, but he took the blow with the help of the blood shadow shark. Of course, his spiritual beast died in the end. A battle between two strong masters happened in the blink of an eye, not to mention that he was ambushed by two strong masters. Dongfang Ming roared, Shiman Linglan, the big clans have moved away. You don't have to kill them for resources, do you? Han Fei transformed the infinity water into a knife and instantly shattered the void torn by Dongfang Ming. He said coldly, I'll kill anyone who crosses the border. Many ships from the City of Justice have disappeared recently. I think you did it. Kill them. Han Fei's voice rumbled like thunder and could be heard hundreds of kilometers away. No one dared to approach him. Wang Han, you're provoking a war. Huh. Han Fei responded to him with 100 beast soul-suppressing roar. When the black mist surged, the two sides fought again. Dongfang Ming no longer had a chance to make a sound and died. On the other side, Yu had already led her people to the enemy's ship, trying to wipe them all out. As for the clam girl, Little Black swallowed her for a while, but Han Fei suddenly felt that Little Black was in danger and instantly took Little Black back. Humph! You're courting death. Han Fei's sacrificing punch burst out, and terrifying energy escaped, punching the clam girl into the bottom of the sea. Just when Han Fei was about to attack again, energy escaped from his only major acupoint, making Han Fei's body tremble slightly. Seeing this, Shimen Linglan said, "I'll take care of it. You take a rest." Han Fei didn't care anymore but frowned. He knew that he couldn't suppress it anymore. Alas, I can't hold on much longer. First update. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 1144. On the Avenger, Shimen Linglan took care of the seriously injured clam girl and rushed back immediately. Shimen Linglan said eagerly, "Idiot, how are you? I felt the energy in your body just now. Are you going to make a breakthrough?" Han Fei nodded slightly. "I can't control my power in battle." Shimen Linglan was nervous. "Then you'd better not fight for now." Han Fei shook his head. "I'm going to the 100,000 mountains. Take the Avenger back. Be careful in case the big clans retaliate. They must have learned the news by now." Shimen Linglan frowned. "You really don't want me to go? You've never left me in your life." Han Fei was amused. "So I'll be snatched away by a big fish if I go alone?" Shimen Linglan snorted. Seeing that Han Fei was still naughty, she said seriously, "Yang Xiaogao is also on the ship. He's also an explorer. He can handle it." Han Fei shook his head. A junior explorer and an advanced explorer are two completely different concepts. "Don't worry, I'll be back soon." Shimen Linglan nodded helplessly. "Then hurry up. If you don't come back in half a month, I'll go to the 100,000 mountains to find you." Han Fei grinned. "Okay." Han Fei stopped 10,000 kilometers away from the Avenger, his face cold. He couldn't hold back his power for long. Once he made a breakthrough, he would definitely reach the peak, and he would be very strong. At that time, the injury to his soul would be completely healed. Would he be able to recover the rest of his memory then? He didn't know yet. After all, there seemed to be some restrictions. However, the consequences of this breakthrough were unpredictable. If he really did remember, he might be directly sent out of this space under certain concealment. Han Fei didn't want to go back, but he had some things to deal with. After everything here was settled, he would leave with peace of mind. Of course, even if he made a breakthrough, he might not go back, but Han Fei couldn't take the risk. Han Fei floated in the air and thought for about 2 hours, before he turned around and flew in the direction of the storm strait. Beast King Valley. "Wang Han, you're finally willing to come back. Idiot, why are you only an advanced law enforcer? Little Wang Han, do you want to fight?" "I'm 8 Blue." The Beast King roared, "Go and play. Disciple, come with me." When there was no one around, the Beast King's first sentence was, "You can't suppress it any longer?" Han Fei nodded. "Master, I will definitely make a breakthrough in half a year." The Beast King took a deep breath. "If we forcibly seal it, it will have a certain effect. However, your divine soul is protected by a rare treasure. This is a little difficult." Han Fei said, "Master, I didn't come here to continue suppressing my cultivation. I have a feeling that I might have to leave." The Beast King's eyes widened. "You found a way to cross the river of time." Han Fei thought, there are only 2 possibilities. The first possibility was that after he broke through, his memories would be completely restored, and he would not be tolerated in this world. One was the time ring. No matter which one it was, there was bound to be a problem with his breakthrough. This premonition was very strong. Han Fei shook his head slightly. "I'm not sure. I just have a strong hunch." The Beast King pondered for a moment. "Then why did you come back this time if you are not looking for a seal?" A trace of determination flashed in Han Fei's eyes. "I'm going to set up a trap. I hope Master can take action then." "What trap?" Han Fei's eyes were deep. "Slayer." Han Fei went to the Giant King City and the Demon Plant Mountain Range respectively. However, the Giant King and the others were all sleeping and recovering from their injuries. Perhaps they knew that Han Fei was coming, but they didn't talk to him. Han Fei just saluted and then left. Han Fei was not familiar with the Divine Sun, so he didn't go there. It only took Han Fei 7 days from the 100,000 mountains to his departure. This was because Han Fei was only a law enforcer. If he became an explorer, his travel speed would be at least several times faster than now. During the time when Han Fei was away, Shimen Linglan had been sitting on the bow of the ship, looking into the distance and waiting. Swish! Han Fei suddenly appeared, looked at Shimen Linglan with a smile, and said, "I'm back." Shimen Linglan suddenly got up. "What did the Beast King say?" Han Fei grinned and said, "It's a little difficult, but it's not a big problem. My teacher gave me a strange technique. Maybe I can make a breakthrough and pass the tribulation directly." Huh? Shimen Linglan was stunned for a moment. She had suppressed it for so long, but now she could make a breakthrough. And directly pass the tribulation directly? If so, didn't it mean that Han Fei was about to break through to the explorer realm? Shimen Linglan was overjoyed and quickly asked, "What do I need to prepare?" Han Fei said, "I need to choose a place to pass the tribulation. My tribulation may be more troublesome. The Avenger may not be enough. I need to set up an array with the power of the earth." Shimen Linglan's face tightened. "You need to look at the power of the earth? Where can I do that?" Han Fei sighed. "The 100,000 mountains can be used. With the dragon veins of the mountains as the array and the terrain of sky bearing, this tribulation can be passed. But that will inevitably cause great damage to the 100,000 mountains. So, I have to find a place in the sea similar to the power of the earth." Shimen Linglan frowned. "You mean, the northern Lost Mountain Sea?" Han Fei nodded. "Yes." Shimen Linglan said, "But that's the territory of the big families, right?" Han Fei snorted coldly. "All the places are outside the territory of the City of Justice. Besides, they know who I am, so they won't dare to attack me. Don't worry. After this tribulation, I may be free from my predicament." Shimen Linglan thought for a moment. If she went to the Lost Mountain Sea to pass the tribulation, there might be a big problem. But Han Fei was indeed different. He was the first disciple of the Four Masters. If someone dared to do anything to him during the tribulation, it would be a provocation to the 100,000 mountains. Thinking of this, Shimen Linglan nodded. "Okay, then let's go." Han Fei grinned. "I'm in a good mood today. What do you want to eat?" "I'll make it for you." Shimen Linglan smiled brilliantly. "Stir-fried squid." "Okay." When Han Fei returned, a venerable in the northern clan's territory suddenly opened his eyes. "Huh? Why is the Beast King going to Blackrock City?" The sea was vast and the probability of ships meeting each other was very low. Therefore, even when the Avenger arrived at the Lost Mountain Sea in the north, it didn't meet the ships of the big clans. After all, this place was still far from the land and belonged to the deep sea area. What they were more worried about was the threat from the big deep-sea demons. Half a month had passed. Han Fei wandered among the mountains, setting up arrays and planning. Everyone on the Avenger felt that Han Fei was really going to make a breakthrough this time. Someone said, "How strong do you think General Han will be after he becomes an explorer?" Someone shook his head. "I can't think of it. I'm guessing that he might even be comparable to an advanced explorer. Who knows?" Someone sighed. "That's not necessary. After all, he is still a peak-level law enforcer. But in any case, he will definitely be as strong as an intermediate explorer." Yang Xiaogao said solemnly, "Now, what we should worry about is not how strong he will be after he becomes an explorer. But how strong is the heavenly tribulation? Didn't you see that General Han has been setting up arrays for half a month? Using the mountains as a shield to resist the heavenly tribulation. TSK, General Han is probably the only person in the world who needs to go through a tribulation like this." A newcomer couldn't help but ask, "Master Gao, is the heavenly tribulation really that terrifying?" "How did you feel?" Yang Xiaogao shook his head. How did I feel? Without General Han's array of ships, I felt that I was going to be killed. You want to ask me how I felt? That feeling was really terrifying. Shiman Linglan shouted, stop chatting. Stay on high alert. Once a big demon attacks, open the array of ships and ram it. Everyone was shocked and shouted in unison, yes, Captain. Bam! Han Fei broke out of the water, glanced at the Avenger, and shouted in a low voice, all ships, stay away. When I am going through the tribulation, you are not allowed to enter within 50 kilometers. Shiman Linglan came to Han Fei's side. Don't you want to borrow the Avenger? Han Fei said, have you forgotten what path I am taking? Since I am taking the invincible path, even the heavenly tribulation is my enemy. I will still use it when the situation calls for it and I have to use it. Just empty the Avenger and don't let anyone on it. Shiman Linglan felt the extreme confidence and dominance in Han Fei's words, but she couldn't help but worry. Han Fei said, remember, don't enter my lightning tribulation area. Otherwise, not only will it blast you, but my heavenly tribulation may even become stronger. Shiman Linglan took a deep breath. Okay, don't let anything happen. Han Fei nodded slightly. Don't worry. I will go through the tribulation in an hour. You go back to the ship first. After that, Han Fei sat directly on the sea. Seeing this, Shiman Linglan could only retreat. At this moment, no one was more nervous than she was. She knew that if Han Fei passed this tribulation, he would probably become incredibly strong. On the ship, Yang Xiaogao was shocked. Captain, does General Han not want the Avenger? Shiman Linglan shook her head slightly. Don't worry about it. Just mind your own business. And Han Fei sighed slightly in his heart. Tribulation. Everything was just made up. Han Fei had never thought that the 6th level of the true spirit fishing art would be deduced in this situation. He was also gambling, but he felt that he had the capital to do so. The deduction of the 6th level required 1 billion points of spiritual energy, and it must be shocking and turbulent. Besides, according to the historical levels of the void fishing art, the 6th level of the void fishing art could reach the venerable level, divine quality. What did this mean? Above the venerable level was the pioneer sea realm. At present, the demon purification pot could only deduce venerable level, low quality at most. Although it could continue to deduce, it would damage the demon purification pot. Han Fei still chose to deduce because he knew where the third vine was and he would get it eventually. Even if the demon purification pot was damaged by this forced deduction, it should be within the acceptable range. At worst, he could find a way to make up for it later. Furthermore, this deduction might be an opportunity for him. It was reasonable to say that the 6th level of the void fishing art was at least a venerable level technique. The safest scenario was to deduce it when he reached the venerable level. However, Han Fei couldn't really wait until he reached the venerable level. He could also reach the explorer level. And his physique could be said to have reached the peak in history. When he exerted his full strength, he was comparable to an intermediate explorer. Of course, he could give it a try. Han Fei didn't dare to talk to Shiman Linglan. Otherwise, he would definitely spew out a bunch of words similar to his last words. With Shiman Linglan's personality, she would definitely grasp this point. So, it was better not to say it. He was ready. When he reached the peak level, the deduction would begin. The two were connected. Even if the Great Way noticed it, the deduction had already begun, so it had to let it finish, right? Half an hour later, there was obviously billowing spiritual energy bursting out of Han Fei's body. 50 kilometers away, everyone looked at the sea nervously. Shiman Linglan's palms were full of sweat, her body was tense, and her face was expressionless. Hum. Hum. Vortexes appeared one after another on the sea, making Han Fei seem to be in those vortexes. A massive amount of spiritual energy soared into the sky, condensing into a spiritual energy storm visible to the naked eye. Gulp. Everyone swallowed their saliva. Had it begun? This scene was shocking enough. He was just advancing from an advanced law enforcer to a peak-level cultivator, but the movement was already so big. Wouldn't the tribulation scare people to death? Han Fei really set up arrays on the mountains. However, in addition to the spiritual energy arrays, there were also various killing arrays to prevent other creatures from attacking. It was estimated that if he really passed the tribulation, most of the mountains would probably collapse, which could be regarded as a treasure land of the Sea Clan. This deduction was also an opportunity. If Han Fei successfully deduced it, he wouldn't need to worry about cultivation techniques anymore when he reached the Venerable Realm. But on the sea, Han Fei didn't make any arrangements. He had to wait for the big clans to take action and ruin his tribulation. In Han Fei's ideal plan, if he successfully deduced the cultivation technique, he would definitely be seriously injured. If the big clans came to make trouble and were ready to ruin his tribulation, then his plan would be a success. Because they couldn't break it at all. After all, this was not a real tribulation. At that time, he would put on the time ring and pretend that he was already dead. At that time, the Beast King would kill the Venerable, and everything would be reasonable. He could also avoid Shiman Linglan's eyes. The other situation was that the big clans didn't take action. But would it work if they didn't take action? The tribulation in the Lost Mountain Sea was just an excuse. As long as he disappeared, or they said that the big clans wanted to kill him. Regardless of whether the big clans really took action or not. The Beast King would also take action. It was hard to say whether he would kill them or not, but it shouldn't be difficult to suppress the big clans for another 100 years. Everything was within Han Fei's plan. He didn't hesitate anymore. No matter how beautiful everything was, he was not a person of this world after all. He had left the 1,000-star city for so long. God knew what changes had happened there. 13 spiritual energy tornadoes frantically poured into Han Fei's body. The surrounding energy suddenly disappeared. The sky and the earth suddenly changed color. Han Fei was shocked. Sure enough, is this realm the limit of my life in this world? The sky and the earth had changed color before he even deduced it. Half an hour later. Kacha! When the crisp sound of a breakthrough rang out, there was a rumble in the sky, and the clear sky exploded. Deduce. Rumble. At that moment, within 10,000 kilometers, the wind and clouds suddenly changed and black clouds shrouded. In the sky, the thunder continued to explode, exploding without end. Above the sea, raging waves slapped and huge waves stacked up. Shiman Linglan and the others all held their breath and looked at this scene in shock. Is this the scene of Han Fei's tribulation? Almost at the same time. The three human venerables looked at the sky almost at the same time. Is this a tribulation? No, it's the roar of the Great Path. Swish! Swish! The venerables all came out at the same time, and the peak-level explorers also raised their heads. The sky and the earth changed color. Something big must have happened. The Beast King stood above the unknown sea. The Great Path doesn't allow this. What on earth did this kid do? He actually caused the sky to change. But the sky seems to be a bit weak. Like a super vortex formed above the sea, Han Fei was almost wrapped in a large cocoon of spiritual energy. However, Shiman Linglan and the others who were close could see that the terrifying amount of spiritual energy was submerging into Han Fei's body at an incredible speed. Boom! A bolt of lightning struck down without warning, and the electric arcs illuminated the void that was as dark as night. The weird electric arcs could even jump on the sea, forming a large circle that covered dozens of kilometers of the sea. As an explorer, they could already see that there seemed to be billions of tiny electric arcs flashing in the water and the void. Humph! Han Fei's clothes were torn apart, and his mouth and nose were bleeding. The electric arcs were jumping quickly on his body. Swish! Using the divine healing technique, Han Fei turned his hand and thousands of energy fruits appeared, but they turned into powder in an instant. Who? The swallowing technique was activated, and the terrifying energy was absorbed into Han Fei's body. Boom! Crack, crack, the void was illuminated again. The thick lightning directly enveloped Han Fei. When the lightning was about to disappear, boom, 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 one lightning bolt after another fell. Every time a lightning bolt fell, Shimen Linglan and the others' eyelids twitched, and their hearts trembled. Someone exclaimed, Lord Gao, didn't you say that there were only 3 heavenly tribulations? This. How many fucking bolts have there been? Yang Xiaogao was also stunned. He looked at Shimen Linglan. Captain, what's going on? Is the heavenly tribulations against General Han? Shimen Linglan was also stunned. Is this a tribulation? Isn't it trying to kill me? More than 30 lightning bolts fell in a row. It seemed that it needed to accumulate power before it stopped for a while. But at that moment, everyone saw that Han Fei's skin was cracked, his body was badly mutilated, and a terrifying vitality was bursting out. They saw more than 1,000 energy fruits appear, but then they turned into powder. Han Fei's flesh and blood were growing and recovering rapidly. Above the void, 3 venerables appeared at the same time. The 3 of them looked at each other. It's Wang Han. Why is he here? Someone shouted, look, he's trying to pass the tribulation with the help of the array in the mystical mountain sea. But why did this heavenly tribulation offend the rules? Don't worry. I've never heard of such a heavenly tribulation. It's not bad if he's killed by the heavenly tribulation. How talented is this kid to be able to trigger such a level of power? No wonder the 4 venerables of the 100,000 mountains want to accept one disciple. Shimen Tian's eyes were cold. No, this kid can't pass this tribulation. Otherwise, once he becomes a venerable, who among us can defeat him? Someone immediately said, the Beast King seems to have gone to Blackrock City. The Divine Prince of the 100,000 mountains is there. Should we take action? Another venerable said, look, it doesn't seem to be stopping at all. Let's wait and see. If it doesn't work, we can take action. It's best not to do it ourselves, or the Beast King will be furious. Humph, even if we offend the Beast King, we can't let this kid pass the heavenly tribulation. The venerables were disappointed. They had seen Han Fei's dominance. He regarded the big races as his enemy. Once Han Fei became a venerable, the big races would never be able to rise again. Han Fei didn't dare to use secret methods. He first used the body of war and the swallowing technique to resist. However, he obviously couldn't withstand a round of bombardment. That was why he tried to resist the lightning with the terrifying vitality of the indestructible body. Fortunately, he had a lot of resources. He threw energy fruits like they were nothing. Boom, boom, boom. Half an hour later, Han Fei was directly burnt to a crisp. If it weren't for the fact that they could still feel Han Fei's breath, Shimen Linglan and the others would have collapsed. It wasn't just a few bolts of lightning. There were hundreds of them. In the sky, Shimen Tian's eyes were cold. We can't wait any longer. This kid's physique is amazing and he has endless resources. If he passes the tribulation, what will happen? Someone said, don't move. Is there a deeper meaning behind this kid's heavenly tribulation in the Lost Mountain Sea? Shimen Tian said, how is that possible? This kid's heavenly tribulation is so terrifying. If the Beast King is here, how can he not come? The 3 of them calculated the heavenly secrets at the same time. However, they were all stunned. The heavenly secrets around this kid are chaotic. They can't calculate anything. Someone suggested, 1 peak level explorer per family. Don't we have the venerable level remains? Throw them out and use them as a source of contention. Even if this kid dies, it won't be our turn. After all, these venerables also had their own agendas. If the Beast King was furious, he'd better not target their family. If they had to be implicated, it would be a good thing if they could bear less responsibility. However, no matter what, Han Fei couldn't pass this tribulation. This was their consensus. With Han Fei's personality, he dared to openly threaten a venerable when he was only a law enforcer. If he really succeeded in his heavenly tribulation, it would be terrible. Therefore, they would rather offend the Beast King than let Han Fei pass this tribulation. Half an hour later, Han Fei's aura was getting weaker and weaker. If it weren't for the crumbling energy fruits and the gathering of spiritual energy, Shimen Linglan felt that Han Fei might not be able to survive this weird heavenly tribulation. At this moment, the lightning began to slow down, and everyone's eyes lit up. On the Avengers' side, everyone was shouting, "General Han, hold on. General Han, you are invincible. General Han, we will wait for you to come back and continue to gallop across the sea." Suddenly, 3 figures tore through the void. The 3 of them were wearing battle suits, holding huge shields, and rushed to the battlefield at an extremely fast speed. Shimen Linglan shouted angrily, "Bastard, Wang Han is the first disciple of the 4 venerables. If you dare to touch him, you will definitely die." Shimen Linglan directly rushed out, followed by Yang Xiaogao. A group of peak-level law enforcers roared. "Damn it, do you want to die? How dare you touch General Han? You're courting death. Big clan bastards, stop." However, one of the 3 shouted, "The remains of the venerable are here. We are just competing for opportunities." With that, a ray of light was smashed into the deep sea. Han Fei was really dying now. In fact, he should have deduced the 6th level of the void fishing art after he became an explorer. This time, the consumption of resources was terrifying. He felt that a strange force was really trying to kill him. If it weren't for the rapid swallowing ability of the demon purification pot, even with the vitality of the indestructible body, he probably wouldn't have survived this. At this moment, seeing the experts of the big clans coming to attack, no one knew that the corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched under the charcoal. At this moment, a seemingly ordinary ring suddenly appeared on Han Fei's fingertip. At that moment, the ring, which was only the size of a baby's finger, instantly grew larger the moment it touched Han Fei's finger. In an instant, it turned into a dragon-shaped ring and put it on Han Fei's finger. Crack, crack, crack. Han Fei turned his head with great difficulty, and his flesh was tearing. He looked at the 3 peak-level explorers and opened his mouth with difficulty. Bam! Seeing this scene, the 3 of them had a headache. What does Wang Han mean? Has he been struck dumb? Boom! Another bolt of lightning fell, and the lightning wrapped Han Fei in it. Han Fei felt that there was a force trying to obliterate his vitality. However, a blue light flashed on his fingertip, and a vortex hole appeared. Swish! Everyone only saw that in the lightning, the man should be twisting and changing. Yet, this thunderbolt seemed to have accumulated some power. Therefore, the duration was slightly longer than usual. When the lightning disappeared, Han Fei was nowhere to be seen. On the sea, there was only a lot of charcoal-like flesh and blood left. Huh! There was a roar that seemed to come from the endless sky. Today, there are only 2 chapters. About the relevant questions in the reincarnation secret land, such as whether Chao Xian is the ancestor of the Chao family and whether Yu is Yi Xian's ancestor, these are not traps, but pure suspense. It's up to everyone's guess, and there will be no answer in the follow-up. Why there is no sea god statue in the City of Justice? It has been explained before, and what the history after Han Fei left will not be answered. As for other suspense, there will be answers in the next chapter. Today, there are only 2 2-in-1 chapters, and a total of 4 chapters, which is quite a lot. It has been updated for many days, with more than 18,000 words every day. It will be updated normally in the future. In the end, at the beginning of the month, please buy a monthly ticket. End of this chapter. Chapter 1145. The faces of the 3 venerables changed drastically. Someone shouted, "Oh no, that kid is dead. He persevered for so long, so why did he die under this thunderbolt? You 3, come back. Come back. Shiman Tian reached out and tried to grab the three of them back. This timing was too fucking coincidental. The big families couldn't clear their names this time. They wanted to stop Han Fei from passing the heavenly tribulation. However, if they succeeded, they would be afraid of the Beast King's revenge. After all, Han Fei was the first disciple of the Four Venerables. Even so, Shiman Tian still shouted, "Kill Shiman Linglan and the others." However, in the distant sky, the Beast King roared furiously. "Damn you! How dare you kill my disciple? Go to hell!" The first to attack wasn't the Beast King, but the Divine Prince, who rarely appeared. As soon as the Divine Prince appeared, he clenched his fist and the three peak-level explorers were crushed in an instant. Then, the Divine Prince dived into the sea and frowned. "You guys, you've gone too far this time." Shiman Tian shouted, "This is a trap." Bam! The huge cudgel broke through the void and directly smashed towards Shiman Tian. The Beast King appeared. "Fuck you. Old bastard, I only went out for a few days. How dare you attack my disciple? Who gave you the courage?" Shiman Tian raised his sword. "If it wasn't a trap, why did you come so fast?" "Huh!" The Beast King roared. "I'm a half-king. It's easy for me to cross the void. My disciple must pass this tribulation. If you didn't do anything, how could this happen?" The five supremacies smashed through the space and entered the void. Shiman Linglan went crazy. She scanned the area with her perception again and tears flowed from her eyes. Impossible, impossible. How could he die? How could he die? Idiot, come out, come out, Shiman Linglan dove into the water. She felt that her perception was deceiving her. The giant void hand scooped up the pieces of flesh and blood and searched for them in the lost mountain sea for the time it took for an incense stick to burn. Yang Xiaogao and the others were all in tears. Damn it! They couldn't believe that General Han died just like that. The thunder was clearly gone. This tribulation was clearly about to pass. However, the sky changed color and the void shook. It seemed that a great battle was about to break out. Yang Xiaogao and the others knew that even the Beast King thought that Marshal Han was dead. Bang! Shiman Linglan came out of the water. She was holding a venerable one tailbone in her hand. That was the excuse that the large families used to ruin Han Fei's breakthrough. Now, it was in Shiman Linglan's hands. Yang Xiaogao, EU, and the others gathered behind Shiman Linglan. They didn't dare to say anything. They all knew that even though Shiman Linglan was the city lord, the one who had the final say on the Avenger was General Han. They were afraid that Shiman Linglan would go crazy. However, Shiman Linglan suddenly said, "No, he's not dead." This venerable bone was useless. Although those people entered the heavenly tribulation, they did not immediately cause any changes. Only a venerable one would be able to kill Yangming without him noticing. However, it's impossible for the Beast King and the Divine Sun to not know about the Venerable One's actions. Shiman Linglan was suddenly curious. Why did Han Fei go to the 100,000 mountains? Also, why did the Beast King ask Han Fei to suppress his realm? Why did he have to go through the heavenly tribulation in the mystical mountains? Why did everything seem so coincidental? Bam! Suddenly, blood splashed in the sky. Two streams of light suddenly appeared and then disappeared. Then, Shiman Tian appeared with half of his body and blocked the attack. Then, his figure was wrapped in a red light and he tried to escape. The Beast King chased after him, but the Divine Sun stepped on the sea and pointed a finger at the void. Shiman Tian's body, which was already seriously injured, exploded. But the next moment, another arrow of blood pierced through the sky. The Divine Sun didn't chase after him. He glanced at Shiman Linglan indifferently. "I searched the universe and didn't find him. My condolences." The Divine Sun only said that he was not suitable for acting, so he just cooperated with the Beast King and went back. The rest was up to the Beast King. Rumble. The battle in the sky lasted for half an hour. During this period, the sky changed color several times. The Beast King's roar resounded through the void. Good, good, good. I didn't expect that there was a venerable in your family. Old thief Shiman, my 100,000 mountains will remember this enmity. Just wait for this, daddy. 100 years later, when old Gu and Tianqing recover, you will not be able to stop me. The Beast King returned and stopped a kilometer away from Shiman Linglan. His murderous intent was clear. Little girl, you guard that city. This is a matter of the 100,000 mountains. Shiman Linglan looked at the Beast King stubbornly. I know that he didn't die. This is a trap. Elder Beast King, please tell me, where is he? The Beast King roared, how would I know? If he didn't die, how would I not know? You little girl, sigh. This king has already said that this king will take revenge. Shiman Linglan shouted, Teacher, what did he say to you when he went to the 100,000 mountains? Why did he suppress his realm? Who is he? Buzz. The Beast King waved his hand. Shiman Linglan's body softened and she fainted. The Beast King said, Little girl is possessed. Let her sleep for a while. After saying that, the Beast King disappeared from the endless sea. Yu, Yang Xiaogao, and the others were left standing on the sea with their minds blank. Han Fei didn't lose consciousness. He still knew to cast the divine healing technique on himself. After half an hour, he slowly opened his eyes. And during this half an hour, he seemed to be lying on cold water. When Han Fei opened his eyes, he saw a big fish looking at him. Seeing that Han Fei had woken up, the big fish said lightly, Are you awake? Senior time. The big fish in front of him was the time dragon carp. Han Fei didn't expect this. He thought that if he put on the time ring, he might be able to wake up in the ideal palace. Han Fei quickly looked around and found that this seemed to be a big cocoon of blue light. Han Fei hurriedly asked, Senior, where is this? The time dragon carp looked at him curiously. This is a time gap. Human, I didn't expect you to be so lucky. Han Fei automatically ignored the second half of the sentence and was shocked. Time gap. Senior, how was the battle before I came? Do you know? The time dragon carp said indifferently, based on the time here, half a month has passed since that battle. A venerable was seriously injured and it will take him 100 years to recover. Fortunately, you are still wearing the time ring. Otherwise, in your state just now, not only will you be directly lost in the long river of time, but your old body may also be eroded, leaving only your soul. Han Fei took a breath. Old body. The time dragon carp sneered. Speaking of which, when I first saw you, I was a little confused. There was a period of time missing in your life. This time, your soul strayed into the long river of time and barely made up for the missing period of time in your life by interfering with fate. If you can take this body back, it will merge with your original body. You will be complete, and you will no longer be watched by the eye of the heavenly law. Do you understand? Han Fei shook his head repeatedly. No. The time dragon carp rolled its eyes, seeming to think that Han Fei was stupid, and explained again, that is to say, you are an ancient person. When you were young, you were sent across the long river of time to the future. So, you are missing a period of history. Now, you will make up for this period of time by influencing the future. In this way, you will have no regrets in your life. The body you have now and the body you will have in the future are both you. So, when the two merge, you will successfully avoid history and become a person of the future. Han Fei scratched his head. It was not that he didn't understand, but that he understood. Although he understood, he was still dumbfounded. Is my life so magical? The time dragon carp sneered. Magical? That's because you don't know how much someone has paid to break the law of time in this way. Forget it, this is your business. Since you and I deserve this opportunity, I will help you send it back. However, you owe me a huge favor. In the future, you must treat my son better, and it is best to meet all his needs. Han Fei hurriedly said, wait a minute. Huh? Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Senior, you can travel the long river of time. Can you let me see that woman? The time dragon carp grunted and said, but you can only see her through time. You can never see her again. Otherwise, if I appear again, the law of the Great Way will notice me and try to obliterate me. Swish. As the time dragon carp flicked its tail, an image appeared on the blue cocoon of light, Beast King Valley, 100,000 mountains. Yuanda scratched his butt and said, King, little Ling Lan has been kneeling outside for half a month. You really don't want to see her? Yuan San was waving his stick. King, this girl is quite pitiful. You'd better see her. The Beast King roared, see what? I hate the sentimental human beings the most. That brat didn't say it himself. He didn't do a good job and was seen through. And he still wants me to keep it a secret. Bah, I promised to keep it a secret. Yuanda said, King, why don't we let her go to the Divine Sun? The Beast King's eyes lit up. Yes, let her go to the Divine Sun. Let her go quickly. Smack. Yuanda was suddenly slapped to the ground by a hand that suddenly stretched out from the void, making a big pit. The Beast King grinned. Ha! Divine Sun. I said I could keep it a secret for that kid, but you didn't. You just need to tell little Ling Lan the same thing, and that will be it. Seeing this, Han Fei didn't feel good. Beast King, you're too unreliable. Outside, Shiman Linglan was still kneeling on the ground stubbornly. She had watched over Han Fei for half of her life. How could he die just like that? Something was wrong. The heavenly tribulation was so powerful, but it didn't kill Han Fei. It couldn't kill him at the last moment. Even his body was gone. Yuan San walked out with a big stick. Girl, you're really something. Fine, King wants you to ask the Divine Sun. Maybe the Divine Sun can answer you. Shiman Linglan's eyes lit up and she disappeared. A moment later, on the peak of the mountain, Shiman Linglan said, Lord Divine Sun, I have something to ask you. Please see me. The Divine Sun's voice came slowly. He doesn't belong to this era. This is the answer you want. Shiman Linglan was taken aback. She braced herself and said, Lord Divine Sun, can you make it clearer? I don't understand. Alas. The Divine Sun's voice was unhurried. He came from thousands of years in the future. He traveled through the river of time and came here by chance. He doesn't belong to this era. Shiman Linglan was dumbfounded. He came from thousands of years in the future. He didn't belong to this era. Suddenly, she seemed to understand. Even when Han Fei's consciousness woke up, he had never told her about his memories, not even once. It turned out to be so bizarre. No wonder he refused to have a child when she wanted to. She had thought that she still had a lot of time in the future. It turned out that he had known it a long time ago but didn't tell her, so he faked his death for her. Shiman Linglan gritted her teeth. Lord Divine Sun, can I travel through the river of time? If you become a king or above, you may have a chance to see him through time. It's almost impossible to go back. You can't withstand the corrosion of time for thousands of years. Shiman Linglan was silent for a long time and wiped her eyes casually. Then I'll wait. I'll try to live until he's alive. Swish. All the scenes in front of Han Fei disappeared. The time dragon carp said, this is probably what you're obsessed with. Let's go. Although you can stay in the time gap for a long time, it doesn't mean that you won't be corroded by time. After a moment of silence, Han Fei nodded slightly and murmured to the time barrier, there's a will in the pirate flag. Chapter 1146. The Ideal Palace. Through the fog of time, Han Fei saw the body that was still lying there. He felt very strange. Now, he had two bodies. What's going on? The time dragon carp said, you go out by yourself. Because you are always you, your old body will collapse and then merge. Huh. This place is a bit weird. So that's how it is. Someone stole the river of time for a period of time. No wonder you can run to the other end of the river of time. No wonder the suppression of the Great Way was so weak in that place in that era. It seems that you have a powerful background. Han Fei's eyes flashed. Did someone really steal the river of time? The time dragon carp said, it's not accurate to say that it was stolen. It's just that someone sealed the river of time during this period of time. In a sense, it isolated the influence of many rules of the Great Way. However, the strange thing is, if this person just sealed the river of time for you, then at this moment, the seal should have been unlocked. It should have been unsealed by now. Why is the seal still there? Han Fei's heart did a flip. He suddenly understood. During this period of time, it should have been sealed by his mother in some way. Why couldn't it be unlocked? Of course, there were other people who wanted to enter. But who was that person? Who else could it be except Her? Unfortunately, Her's yin and yang souls were now separated, and his yang soul and body were still in the sixth immortal palace. He had to find a way to go to the sixth immortal palace to find Her. However, at this moment, Han Fei didn't have so many problems. Han Fei cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your help, Senior." "When should I go to find little time?" The time dragon carp said lightly, "You don't have to look for her. When the time comes, my son will go to you." After that, the time barrier was opened. Han Fei thanked the time dragon carp again and stepped out. As soon as he entered the fog of the ideal palace, Han Fei suddenly felt extreme pain all over his body. Kacha! Kacha! He felt that the bones in his whole body were breaking inch by inch, and he couldn't even stand steadily and fell directly to the ground. Immediately afterward, his flesh and blood were melting, but they did turn into spots of golden light. That feeling was indescribable. However, at this moment, the golden light spots that Wang Han's body had turned into were all absorbed by his body. Han Fei knew that this was the fusion of the so-called Great Old Body and the main body. Han Fei's divine soul only lasted a minute before it merged with his collapsed body into his main body. He didn't know how much time had passed, but there was a period of confusion. When Han Fei suddenly felt that he was completely awake, a dazzling sunlight suddenly shone on his face. However, the temperature of the sunlight seemed a little off. It was a little high. When Han Fei looked up, the sun was blazing in the sky, and steam was rising. The first reaction in his mind was, "Am I out of the ideal palace?" The time dragon carp had sent his body through the river of time, so it was impossible for him to be in the ideal palace. Clatter! Han Fei twisted his neck and immediately made lumpy noises. Peak law enforcer. Han Fei was refreshed. He had actually brought back Wang Han's strength in one piece. When Han Fei was about to take a closer look at his current situation, he suddenly heard someone exclaim, "Is that Han Fei?" Han Fei glanced around. There were not many people outside the ideal palace today, only about 300. Not good, it's really Han Fei. He's not dead. No, his realm is no longer that of a junior law enforcer. An intermediate law enforcer narrowed his eyes. Not good, I can't see through him. As soon as this remark came out, many people were shocked. What did he mean? If he hadn't completely restrained his strength, then his strength must have exceeded that of an intermediate law enforcer. Swish swish, all of a sudden, 40 or 50 people flew away on fishing boats, looking very anxious. Something seems to be wrong. Han Fei's face changed immediately. Not good, I forgot to ask the time dragon carp how long it has been. I've been in the reincarnation cycle for decades, but decades have passed here too. That's bad. Wait, hiss. Han Fei took a breath because Senior Time Dragon Carp had directly sent him back to reality. His memories were not damaged at all. None of them were lost. Suddenly, someone rushed over quickly. Han Fei, you're finally out. Go back to the Thug Academy quickly. Han Fei's face changed. You are? The man said, I'm from the Luo family. Let's talk on the way. With a flip of Han Fei's hand, the wind god boat appeared. At this moment, he didn't use the heavenly void divine walking technique. Once he used this technique, someone in the Thousand-Star City would definitely notice it. At that time, it would be really inappropriate to provoke the Yi family halfway. The wind god boat burst out at full speed, leaving a long red shadow in the sky. Han Fei's face became serious and he said urgently, tell me first, what time is it now? The man was stunned for a moment. Tomorrow is the Heavenly Fire Festival. Han Fei asked, which year is the Heavenly Fire Festival? Oh, no. Tell me, how long have we been in there? The man seemed to understand what Han Fei meant and immediately said, you have been in the Ideal Palace for a long time, about 40 days. Han Fei immediately breathed a sigh of relief. However, he immediately realized that he had also been in the reincarnation cycle for more than 40 years. To be precise, it should be 48 years. Was this related to the Thug Academy? Han Fei asked, what happened to the Thug Academy? The man said, at that time, Fifth Glimmer and Chu Qingyan left the Ideal Palace together, and then more than 50 people came out at once. Unfortunately, those people didn't have memories, and you didn't come out. So, Chu Qingyan made an agreement with the outside world to determine whether you were still alive by the number of times she entered the Ideal Palace. Han Fei's face changed. So, I'm confirmed to be dead? The man nodded. Yes, you're confirmed to be dead. So, for a while, the big clans made a series of blows to the Thug Academy. Zhou Yinling guarded the Thug Academy alone and was seriously injured because she was no match for them. A murderous intent surged from Han Fei. Who? The man said, Chu Qingyan. Han Fei immediately said angrily, fuck. I'm going to kill this woman. Wait, Ren Tianfen didn't do anything? The man smiled bitterly. He did. However, Ren Tianfen only sent a clone. A clone slaughtered 2 peak-level explorers and was then destroyed by a venerable. However, Zhou Yinling's life should be fine, but the Zhou Yin family was hit. Their family was already in decline, but now they can't even be considered a family anymore after the Chu sect forced them. Han Fei immediately frowned. Yes, if he died, who would dare to save the Thug Academy? Maybe those big clans were waiting for Ren Tianfen. After all, everything was just Chu Qingyan's side of the story. Old Han was probably just watching. Old Han was good at divination. With his ability, how could he not know whether he was dead or not? If Old Han didn't come out, how could Ren Tianfen protect the Thug Academy alone? It would be a bit difficult. If they set up a trap and waited for him to jump, he certainly wouldn't jump. Han Fei quickly asked, what's the situation of the Thug Academy now? The man smiled bitterly. Miss and the others came out one after another. Miss was the first to come out, which was 27 days after you went in. During this period, someone wanted to directly capture the disciples of your school, but fortunately, both the Su family and the Luo family sent explorers. Han Fei took a deep breath. Are you hurt? The man shook his head. Although I'm not hurt, the library of the Thug Academy was blown up. Some of the star beads in it were snatched away. Han Fei asked in surprise, won't the star beads self-destruct? The man shook his head. No. Star beads are just a kind of energy object. They will reassemble when they are broken. Therefore, although they can't solve the mystery of the library, they can still take the star beads by force. Han Fei thought to himself, fortunately, I carried all the main star beads with me. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The man said, however, the Chu sect also paid a price. Ren Tianfen used 3 clones to attack the external strongholds of the Chu sect. He wiped out 3 families affiliated to the Chu sect in a row, which made the Chu sect feel a little safer. Han Fei was of a mind to applaud Ren Tianfei. If you touch me, I won't be able to exterminate your entire sect. But your Chu's sect is so big, how can you take care of everything? However, Han Fei immediately said, Xiao Bai came out. What's the situation now? What about Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang? And what about Li Luoluo? The man said, Lu Renquang came out one day after Miss, and Zhang Xuanyu just came out 5 days ago. Because Miss came out and Ren Tianfen didn't intervene, it has become a normal challenge. However, my master said that this situation will not be balanced for long. The big clans can accept some small sacrifices, as long as they can achieve their goal. However, now Miss just claims that each of you has some star beads. If you want them, you have to defeat her. The man continued, Miss has awakened the Luo family's divine skill. Therefore, no matter who comes to the heavenly talent list, she can fight. However, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renquang are also injured. Because of the long stalemate, a life-and-death battle has begun. They have been fighting since the day Zhang Xuanyu came back. Han Fei didn't speak. The big clans always bullied the weak and feared the strong. If it weren't for Ren Tianfen, they would have killed them. However, Han Fei quickly came to a conclusion. They don't want star beads from Xiao Bai and the others, but they want to slaughter the Thug Academy again. At the same time, they want to lure Ren Tianfen out. Otherwise, Xiao Bai and the others would have been defeated. Han Fei sneered. At this moment, the reason why they hadn't won was that they didn't want to kill Ren Tianfen again. As long as Ren Tianfen died, they would have enough confidence to ambush old Han. It was a bit troublesome, but as long as they could achieve their goal in the end, no matter how complicated the process was. As for the sacrifice? In the eyes of the venerables, the death of the explorer was nothing. This time, on the other side of the river of time, Han Fei deeply realized that those venerables didn't care about the death of the explorer at all. Therefore, as long as they had a chance to enter the immortal palace, no matter how great the sacrifice was, it would be worth it. As for the sea demons, they probably didn't care. Suddenly, Han Fei thought that perhaps these big clans all knew about the existence of the Eye of the Heavenly Law and felt that no one in the Yin-Yang heaven could become a king, not even the sea demons. Therefore, they felt that they had plenty of time to go to the immortal palace and look for an opportunity to become a king. The man said, those big clans also tried to send people to find your body, but they all returned in vain. Han Fei twitched the corner of his mouth. Go in and die. Look for my body. Even if they found it, so what? Han Fei said fiercely, let's go back. Since we've already fallen out, let's do it. Chapter 1147. At the entrance of the Thug Academy. It was packed with people. In front of the spirit plant labyrinth, there was a huge gap, a semicircular battlefield opened up. However, at that moment, a fierce battle was taking place in the square. It was a battle between law enforcers. Colorful spirit plants covered the battlefield, and their attack speed was extremely fast. Some spirit herbs were no weaker than the sword stream blades. They could be found everywhere from the void to the ground. Of course, no matter how strong Luo Xiaobai was, she was only a junior law enforcer. She couldn't directly fight a big realm higher than Han Fei. Luo Xiaobai's limit was that of an advanced law enforcer, which was achieved with the help of the majestic mystic spell. At present, the peak law enforcers had yet to appear because they were setting up a net. In the eyes of many people, without Han Fei, the Thug Academy had been completely dominated. Among the onlookers, someone said, the Luo family's divine art is truly terrifying. Unfortunately, the Luo family isn't weak. Otherwise, Luo Xiaobai would have been targeted. Someone replied, do you think the aristocratic families won't dare to kill him? The Luo family had made it clear that they were not on their side. They even dared to offend a venerable, but they didn't dare to kill Luo Xiaobai. This is just a bait. Hiss. The man gasped. You mean, you want to hunt venerable ones? The man nodded. Otherwise, do you think we can't defeat the Thug Academy with so many people? Do you really think the Thug Academy students are gods? Someone echoed, that's right. Although Jiuyin Ling's cultivation speed is extremely fast, it doesn't mean that she will be strong. Although Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Rinquang were powerful enough, they were not enough. There are countless paths of cultivation. Do you think the two of them can still fight? Luo Xiaobai won't last long. Someone said, since we're hunting, what are we doing here? If a battle between venerables really breaks out here, I'm afraid we won't even be able to withstand the aftershocks. Someone sneered, do you think you can watch a battle between supremacies? What do you take the venerable for? The Thug Academy. There was an explorer from the Su family who was watching all of this with a serious expression. Beside him were Su Daiji and the other four. At this moment, the five of them were nervously watching the battle. Yi Shiyin shouted angrily, how shameless. There are only a few people in our academy, but they sense so many people. Su Daiji raised her fist and said angrily, that's too much. Su Sanqian, Xingyu, and Gu Qi clenched their fists. Gu Qi shouted, all the best, senior sister. The cries of Su Daiji and the others fell into the ears of the explorer from the Su family. He sounded extremely bitter. Did I really lose the bet this time? These people were all sky prides among sky prides. Would the experts of the Thug Academy really let him go? Could it be that the tragedy of the Thug Academy many years ago would happen again? In the field, an armorist who was fighting with Luo Xiaobai, an advanced law enforcer, had 3 blood-red half-moon scimitars on his side, which made a soft hum and moved extremely fast. Because it was nearing the Heavenly Fire Festival, wherever the blade passed, the void would be ignited. It was like 3 huge wheels of fire were crazily cutting through everything. The armorist sneered, the divine technique of the Luo family is great, but you're too weak. You've just entered the law enforcer realm. No matter how powerful the divine technique of the Luo family is, so what? As long as you obediently hand over the star beads, no one will make things difficult for you. Luo Xiaobai was expressionless as she said coldly, don't even think about it. Monster Plant's Divine Waterfall. Luo Xiaobai's figure appeared in all directions of the void spirit plants. The world seemed to form a cage. The vines were like swords, sealing off the battlefield. Blazing fire armor. The armorist laughed loudly as a layer of flaming turtle armor appeared around him. Clang! Although the attacks were intense, every time the sword-like spirit plants attacked the blazing fire armor, their steel needle-like heads would soften. The monster plant's divine waterfall looked extremely shocking, but it couldn't do anything. The armorist laughed. Ha ha ha. Do you know why I chose to challenge you today? The Heavenly Fire Festival is approaching. My blazing fire essence turtle can display its strongest state. At the very least, my strength is comparable to a peak law enforcer today and tomorrow. How can you be my match? Fire Essence Breath. The raging fire suddenly swept the entire monster plant's divine waterfall. The scorching power made Luo Xiaobai's body tremble slightly. Puff! Luo Xiaobai vomited a mouthful of blood, and the monster plant's divine waterfall quickly disappeared. Not far away, Sun Wu sneered. Luo Xiaobai, your spiritual energy can't hold on much longer, can it? This is the suppression of realms. If you admit defeat and hand over the star beads, I can spare your life. Chu Qingyan smiled faintly. Luo Xiaobai, Han Fei is dead. We have confirmed this. Don't struggle anymore. Can you protect the Thug Academy? Xiaobai. The weird silk vines appeared, and Luo Xiaobai was about to continue attacking, when a voice suddenly came from behind. Zhang Xuanyu appeared behind everyone, his face a little pale. Cough, cough. Zhang Xuanyu held a divine weapon, stretched his body, and said, let me do it. In terms of one-on-one combat, I'm the strongest. Yang Nanshi raised the sledgehammer and pointed at Zhang Xuanyu. You're the strongest. What do you think of me? Li Xian smiled faintly. Zhang Xuanyu, have you recovered from your injury? I've been watching you for a few days and my hands are a little itchy. Why don't we have a life and death battle? Suddenly, Everyone looked at Li Xian. This time, they were going to have a life-and-death battle with Zhang Xuanyu. Once Zhang Xuanyu died, it meant that the big clans had strengthened their pressure. Since Ren Tianfei couldn't come out, let's kill one of them first. Still not coming out? Then let's kill again. Zhang Xuanyu gritted his teeth. Okay. I'll kill you. Darling, senior brother. Han Fei said grumpily, don't call me that. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Back off. Zhang Xuanyu slammed his rod on the ground. Why should I back off just because you said so? I'd like to see if I can't poke Li Xian to death. The armorist standing in the air suddenly said, Zhang Xuanyu, right? I heard that you are the strongest in one-on-one combat in the Thug Academy now. Why don't I fight you? Ha ha ha. Many people snickered. One-on-one combat? Why do you care about one-on-one combat between professions? When a soul warrior fights an armorist, it's not that he can't fight. After all, the range of attack is too small. In fact, no soul warrior can completely defeat an armorist in the same realm. Oh, no, Zhang Xuanyu is a lot weaker than the armorist, and their realms don't match at all. Zhang Xuanyu clenched his rod. Fuck, do you think I'm so easy to beat? The armorist said lightly, then come on. I can also fight in a life-and-death battle. Zhang Xuanyu was about to go out with his rod when he found that he had been controlled by Luo Xiaobai. Luo Xiaobai said, let me do it. The armorist laughed again. Luo Xiaobai, don't waste your energy. Not to mention that Han Fei was not here, even if he was here, so what? He has just entered the law enforcer realm. Today, I am a peak-level law enforcer. Who can defeat me? While this person was talking, a shadow suddenly flashed across the sky. The armorist suddenly turned around and shot out 3 fire wheels. A glazed light flashed by in the blink of an eye. Before he could see it clearly, he felt a terrifying force fall on his chest. The blazing fire armor was instantly shattered. Kacha! Bam! The armorist was punched into the sky. In an instant, everyone was shocked. In the void, a pair of glazed wings were flapping gently. Chu Qingyan shouted, impossible, how can you still be alive? Wow! Isn't he dead? How can it be? So many people have confirmed it. How can he still be alive? Behind him, Luo Xiaobai let out a long breath, and suddenly her body softened. She was too tired these days. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, Fei Fei. The Su family explorer was refreshed. However, he immediately discovered, how could Han Fei be a peak-level law enforcer? Yi Shiyan shouted, Senior brother Han Fei, you are finally back. I knew you weren't dead. Su Daji clenched her fists, her eyes glowing, and echoed Yi Shiyan's words. I knew you weren't dead. Guqi raised her hands. Senior brother Han Fei. Without looking back, Han Fei waved his hand lightly and looked up at the sky. I heard that you are very arrogant. I'm coming. Are you ready? The man had just stabilized his body and was about to retreat. However, Han Fei's body suddenly disappeared and flew straight into the sky. Law enforcer, sea of fire. Bam! A sea of fire instantly exploded, and a figure smashed directly to the ground from the sky at a speed invisible to the naked eye. Rumble. In an instant, smoke and dust billowed. Someone shouted, Han Fei, this is a sneak attack. Someone reacted. Han Fei, if you have the guts, let's fight again. However, Chu Qingyan and the others narrowed their eyes and looked at each other speechlessly. No, Han Fei's strength is not right. He is a peak-level law enforcer. However, how is this possible? Even if Han Fei didn't die in the ideal palace, how could his strength improve so much? He soared from a junior law enforcer to a peak-level law enforcer. What kind of opportunity could achieve this? Yang Nanshi yelled, impossible. How can you be a peak-level law enforcer in less than 2 months? What? Wow. The children of the big clans were shocked. What the hell? A peak-level law enforcer? Are you kidding me? Han Fei is a peak-level law enforcer. When the smoke and dust cleared, Han Fei was in a big pit, and he stepped on the armorist whose armor was broken like a porcelain doll. Han Fei raised his head slightly. I'm also a little surprised. Why am I so strong after coming out of the ideal palace? But this is a good thing. With that, Han Fei said leisurely, Xiao Bai. Sometimes you don't need to be so calm. When they don't dare to kill us, why don't we do it first? Suddenly, there was a stern shout in the air. Han Fei, how dare you, puff! An array condensed under Han Fei's feet, and he stepped down heavily, directly crushing the armorist. He raised his hand and the sacrificing punch erupted, facing the big hand of the figure that stepped out of the void. Boom! The sky exploded. The explorer didn't expect that Han Fei had become so strong. He was even stronger than the explorer, but he was also blasted back 100 meters. Gulp! Countless people swallowed their saliva. Killing a heavenly talent of a big clan in public? Did Han Fei go crazy as soon as he came out? Ah, it feels so good to be back. Han Fei's expression suddenly changed, and his eyes were bloodthirsty as he looked at everyone disdainfully. I'm back. Welcome to die. Chapter 1148. Pure Sun Island, at the gate of the Thug Academy. Han Fei kicked away the blood-stained armor box under his feet and walked out of the big pit step by step. At that moment, although Han Fei wasn't wearing armor or holding a sharp blade, he looked like a king getting up from the throne. However, the way he walked made him look like a king who had just risen from his throne. His eyes were filled with disdain. Han Fei said, I heard that you have blocked my Thug Academy for many days and seriously injured many people in my academy. Since you want to kill me so much, I'll give you a chance now. Come at me together and we'll fight to the death. I'll fight all of you alone. Han Fei's voice wasn't loud, but it echoed far away. Arrogant. How dare you, you're courting death. Han Fei, don't be too arrogant. Han Fei grinned and laughed loudly. I'm arrogant? Yes, I'm arrogant. Then do you want to fight me or not? Well. You guys, do you want to fight me together? I think you should be very strong. I'll give you a chance to kill me. However, the scene of Han Fei defeating the explorer with one punch just now was still imprinted in everyone's mind. This meant that Han Fei's strength was comparable to that of an explorer. This was also the reason why Han Fei wanted to challenge them alone. Han Fei's eyes fell on Chu Qingyan and the others. At this moment, he didn't know them. Otherwise, wouldn't the fact that he could leave the ideal palace with his memories be exposed? Zhang Xuanyu's face changed drastically and he hurriedly said to Han Fei via voice transmission, Han Fei, you can choose later. Those are all strong masters on the heavenly talent list. There are no less than 50 strong masters on the heavenly talent list. We can't choose. Luo Xiaobai said, Han Fei, you just came out and don't know the situation. Just ask them to leave first. Roar! Suddenly, a fatty got out of the teleportation array. Lu Renhuang was limping and his face was swollen. He seemed to be crying. Han Fei, you're finally back. The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched. How did this damn fatty end up like this? Immediately following Lu Renhuang was the nine-tailed mantis shrimp. With a swoosh, this guy jumped to Han Fei's side and rubbed against Han Fei's leg. Having no time to talk to the nine-tailed mantis shrimp, Han Fei simply took it back. In his mind, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp seemed to be saying, Master, why did you come back so late? With his back to Luo Xiaobai and the others, Han Fei shook his head and didn't even look at the explorer in the sky. I killed the people from the big families. Don't you want revenge? Ha, the so-called prodigy rankers and disciples of the great clans were all so cowardly. I asked all of you to beat me up, but you don't even dare. What a bunch of trash. Bastard, what did you say? Han Fei looked at the speaker mockingly and then looked around. Hey, every one of you is a heavenly talent from a major clan. What expert on the prodigy role? They're all trash. Ah. Yang Nanshi was the first to lose her patience. Being ridiculed by Han Fei, he was furious. He raised his sledgehammer and shouted, Han Fei, do you want to die? Many people's faces changed drastically. Han Fei, do you know what you're talking about? Humph. In the sky, the explorer snorted coldly. A peak-level law enforcer. It's not a big deal for him to take a blow from me. Clap, clap. Han Fei smiled and clapped his hands. Well, I didn't expect that even the explorer is good at talking. TSK, TSK. Han Fei's face suddenly changed, and he roared ferociously, tell me, will you fight me or not? If you don't, get out of here. From now on, wherever my thug academy passes, you good-for-nothings, just stay away from me. Gulp. Lu Renquang swallowed and murmured, when can I be like Han Fei? He's so powerful. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Han Fei has become stronger. Why has he become so much stronger? He had stayed in the ideal palace for such a long time. Could it be that he had encountered something special? At this moment, not only Luo Xiaobai but also everyone here thought so. Suddenly, Sun Wu stood up and shouted, don't be fooled by him. He's just a peak-level law enforcer. There are no less than 30 peak-level law enforcers here. Why should we be afraid of him? Besides, even if Han Fei has heaven-defying luck, his strength has increased so much in less than 2 months. His realm must be unstable. Seeing that no one moved and even Yang Nanshi was thinking, Sun Wu had to stand up. The reason was that she had entered the ideal palace several times in a row, trying to judge one thing by the number of times she entered. She wanted to know if Sun Mu was killed by Han Fei or not. As a result, the answer was clear. Chao Qiu's words were all false. Han Fei tilted his head, glanced at them, and immediately pointed at Sun Wu. What? There are so many so-called heavenly talents here, but none of them have the guts. You bunch of idiots dare to challenge the Thug Academy? Believe it or not, I can pinch you to death with one hand. The corner of Zhang Xuanyu's mouth twitched, and he looked at Luo Xiaobai. Xiaobai, do you think Han Fei is pretending or really daring? Luo Xiaobai glared at Zhang Xuanyu. There are a lot of people here who can hear you. Don't you know that? The voice of the old man from the Su family sounded in Han Fei's mind, Han Fei, don't make things worse. Now that you're back, the situation may return to the previous balance. Han Fei's eyes turned cold. Balance? Ha, Shiman Linglan is right. A big clan ruled a city, and ordinary people had no chance to turn things around. Even if the 1,000-star city looked extremely prosperous on the surface, so what? The more prosperous the 1,000-star city was, the more heritage the big clans had accumulated. Besides, through his experience in the reincarnation soul realm, Han Fei knew that the so-called big clans were just a group of people who bullied the weak and feared the strong. If the 4 masters of the 100,000 mountains were here at this moment, who would dare to act rashly? Chu Qingyan's eyes lit up, and she immediately said to everyone via voice transmission, everyone, even if Han Fei has become stronger, so what? The star bead must be with him. Do you really think he can fight so many of us alone? As long as the star bead is in our hands, what's the big deal? Chu Qingyan immediately took the lead and stepped out. Fight! She didn't remember what happened in the ideal palace. However, in the ideal palace, she had definitely fought with Han Fei. Not only her, but many of the people here had fought with Han Fei. At this moment, the so-called peak-level law enforcer was too weak in her opinion. Normally speaking, no one in the 1,000-star city had ever said that after entering the ideal palace, their strength directly soared by 3 small realms and skipped 8 or 9 levels. Yang Nanshi stepped out with a hammer. Fight, I want to break his fish teeth. Fight, fine, I haven't heard such an unreasonable request for many years. Hey! There are so many people here. How can I be afraid of him? In the sky, the explorer frowned slightly. Just now, he used too little strength to test Han Fei's strength. However, it seemed that Han Fei did have the strength of a peak-level law enforcer. However, he didn't think that Han Fei could challenge so many peak-level law enforcers alone. How could the heavenly talents of the big clans be defeated so easily? As for who Han Fei killed in public, it didn't matter. As long as the heavenly talents of the big clans joined forces to win, who would care about this matter? At that time, they would all be fighting for the star beads. It was normal for 1 or 2 people to sacrifice themselves. Han Fei grinned and said, "You're really coming. TSK, let's have a try. Don't tell me you really dare to kill me." Han Fei seemed to shrink back a little, but in fact, he was just luring the enemy by retreating. Coming out of the Ideal Palace, Han Fei rushed back to the Thug Academy at full speed. However, the people of the big clans outside the Ideal Palace had to go back to their clans first. So, in fact, he had the upper hand. As long as he was fast enough, he could directly kill a batch of them. Luo Xiaobai shouted, "Han Fei." Han Fei waved his hand, signaling Luo Xiaobai to stop talking. Suddenly, 2 war hammers appeared in Han Fei's hands, and air billowed around him. "Come on, today I'll let you know the strength of the Thug Academy." Whoop! Han Fei's figure flew straight into the sky. Luo Xiaobai and the others followed him into the sky. Su Daiji took the explorer of the Su family with one hand, seeming to want the explorer to take them up to watch. However, the elder of the Su family said, "That's a law enforcer battle. Even if I show it to you, you can't see it with your naked eyes. Just wait." In the sky, Han Fei spread his wings. "What? Only 47 people are participating in the battle? Do you look down on the Thug Academy or me? Or is there no one in your big clans? Who? Bastard, I'll fight you too. Wait for me, I'm going to kill you." In an instant, more than 30 people took off into the sky. Han Fei was too arrogant. Even if you're a peak-level law enforcer, so what? Do you think you're invincible just because you're a peak-level law enforcer? Han Fei grinned. Is there anyone else? At this moment, Han Fei's blood was boiling. He really wanted to have a good fight. Since he recovered his memory in the reincarnation secret realm, he had been suppressing an inexplicable anger in his heart, and he needed to vent it. Han Fei roared, "Is there no more? It seems that there are not many heavenly talents of the so-called big clans. There are not even 100 people. Of course, I'm going to beat you up." Yang Nanshi roared and immediately launched an attack with her giant hammers. Han Fei grinned. "Ha, Xiaobai, remember to catch them." Han Fei's figure disappeared without a trace. He was so fast that Yang Nanshi and the others were dumbfounded. He couldn't tear the void so fast, could he? In the sky, the explorer suddenly shouted, "Oh, no, retreat." However, Han Fei didn't really intend to hide anything. He activated the Heavenly Void Divine Walking Technique, Devil Change, and Agility of Wind at the same time, and his speed was several times faster than that of the Yi family. Puff! Yang Nanshi, who was holding the twin hammers, suddenly felt that her arms were powerless. Then she looked at her hands. Why did they fly out? Thud kacha! Yang Nanshi's bones were broken and blood gushed out wildly. Half of her body was bleeding crazily, and she was smashed to Luo Xiaobai. Luo Xiaobai was stunned and immediately summoned void vines and hundreds of demonic plants to hold Yang Nanshi. Thud! 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 The sky was full of void hammer shadows, and energy whirlwinds were swirling in the sky. The body of war could quickly absorb energy from the void. This was the secret of the Chao family, and he had mastered it. How terrifying would his power be when he used the 100 Battles Divine Hammer? Bam! It was as though fireworks were being set off in the void, and clouds of blood mist were exploding one after another. That scene stunned countless people. Those were not iron-head fish, but heavenly talents of the big clans who exploded one after another.